Hey, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council Special Meeting and Work Session of Tuesday, October 14th. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented and request that all presentations and discussions be conducted respectfully and in a manner mindful of everyone's time.
Second,
All in favor?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Before we have public comment, I would like to hold a moment of silence for two community members that have passed away. Denny O'Shaughnessy and Brian Cooper. So if everyone can join me in a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. So first we'll have public comment, and if you would like to make public comment, please raise your hand when you come up to the podium, state your name and mailing address. Keep it under 3 minutes and remember to be kind and respectful. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment? Carolyn?
First, I'd like to, Carolyn Adams, PO Box 422, and Route Shore 97110. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for recognizing my husband's passing, Brian Cooper. I have a puzzling experience at the Cannon Beach liquor store. I find all the time. Hundreds of people who come in from the south do not know that this town is not downtown. No. I have sent hundreds of people in the last 4 years who come in and say, is there any place to buy a hoodie in Cannon Beach? And I usually ask them first who their travel agent is. We end up telling them, you know, that we have galleries, clothing stores, restaurants, etc., 12 blocks north. And I did a quick little scan of the entries into Cannon Beach, and I cannot remember now what the furthermost entrance says, but Sunset, which is where they has a very tiny, is anybody from Chamber here?
Yeah.
Very tiny sign about that big, kind of pointy end that says city center. And other than that, I don't know why people don't actually use their phone to figure out where the center of the town is. But I wanted to make that fun. Maybe it's a chamber issue.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next. Anyone in the audience? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom? If you'd raise your hand, please. Okay, thanks very much. So we're gonna start out the meeting this evening with a public hearing. This is a public hearing on adopting findings to support an exemption from the formal work permit process. At this time, pursuant to ORS 279B.0855, I will open the public hearing in order to give an interested party a chance to comment on the draft findings for an exemption from the competitive bidding requirement. Staff, please present your report.
Thank you. Good evening, council. The city has worked for many years with contractors to provide specialized expertise and services for the tasks that require certain qualified skill sets associated with critical services in our coastal region. These needs are often associated with rapid response times, often outside the traditional 8 to 5 workday hours of Monday through Friday work week, and can often be during inclement weather conditions. The city's legal counsel and public works staff are proposing a resolution that would allow for a 5 to 10 year direct award contract for the specialized demands of certain on-call needs These direct award contracts will be issued as a not to exceed annual amount and will save the city both time and money in searching for other contractors for the next 5 to 10 years in these specialized areas. The following areas of specialized skill set, response demands, and critical infrastructure would apply to these resolutions. The city's arborist, the city's geotechnical expert, our janitorial porter service, electricians, plumbers, small construction repair or handyman, excavation services centered around water, wastewater, and roads, and mowing or brush hogging in sensitive areas of town such as the S-curves, ECFR, and the lagoons at the wastewater plant. Recommendation this evening is legal counsel and staff recommends that council approve each resolution as drafted, authorizing exemptions to directly award a contract to each contractor at such not to exceed amounts as presented in each resolution at the November 4th city council meeting. And tonight, we'll take any questions. I think online we have Ashley from the city's legal counsel firm.
Okay, is there any interested party wishing to comment on the draft findings for an exemption from the competitive bidding requirements? Anyone online? Raise your hand. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time and move to consideration.
I'm just gonna say, I think this makes sense, and this is the only way to actually keep the city running and not have to, you know, stop and put every little job out for bid. I think this, I think the candidates that are selected seem very, and I don't know all of them, but I read what was written about them, and some of them I do know, and it's pretty fascinating.
Eric?
I had a couple of questions for staff and some questions for us. In the, what is it, the exhibits of the resolutions, each of them, it indicates, public notice is required by ORS, blah, blah, blah. We have, all of the total resolutions, plumbing, electrical, and on-call excavation. The public notice that was issued for the ORS was an intent to seek exemption from the public bid process. And then all of the other ones was a public notice of seeking interested parties as opposed to that. So the ones that were seeking interested parties, was that similar to a public bid process? Putting it out there for anyone, and then the people that are in the packet, is that who responded to that interested parties?
So Ashley, I'd let you explain the difference. I think it's centered around the nature of that work associated with those contracts, but I'd like you to give them the legal response to that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly the notice language that you're mentioning, but we did have two different types of resolutions here. And so there's two main categories of public contracts in Oregon. At least it's broken down into two main statutes in Oregon, ORS 279B and C. One's for services and one's for construction, generally for the purpose of this conversation. So the exemption process for each of those is slightly different. So when it's mentioning invitations to bid or exemptions from the bid process, that is generally to do with the construction contracts or the public improvement contracts, whereas the other ones are general service contracts. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
I think kind of. So the ones, let me scroll to which one it was, that was asking for, so for the arborist, is a service, not a construction contract.
Correct.
One is an issue for public notice for interested parties. So is that the equivalent of a public public bid to find
So-
out if there's interested arborists within the county that would build this service.
That's,
And then
that's, oh, I apologize. Yes, that's generally correct. So the notice is essentially just a notice to any individuals who might be interested in providing arborist services to the city in case they have a concern or an issue with a direct award in the way that we are proposing to do in this resolution. So essentially it puts the public on notice, and particularly other arborists who may be interested in working with the city, so they have the ability to voice their concerns if they want at this public meeting.
Okay, and so if they didn't show up at this meeting tonight or respond in writing to that notice, interested parties
Correct.
for the services, then essentially we just have these applicants that are in here that have been chosen, that responded.
Right. Well, these are contractors that we already
Yeah.
have, contracts with, but we're renewing them every 3 years. So there's the constant, administration. To see.
So, yeah, if I can just add a little bit to that, as I understand what the city was previously doing was essentially once a year, the city would contract with an individual arborist and an individual plumber, et cetera, et cetera. But that was somewhat administratively burdensome, particularly if the contract values required the staff to go out for a formal procurement, considering that there weren't many who would respond. So for example, the arborist, considering the criteria that staff were looking for and the area of work that staff was looking for, really they believed that there would be only one likely candidate. So going through the entire formal process or having to sign new contracts every year, that was just administratively burdensome and time consuming. So we were hoping to execute these contracts with these particular contractors that we've identified. By seeking this exemption, we don't have to do a formal procurement process. We can just directly award these contracts to these individuals for a set period of time at those limits that Karen mentioned before. And by publicly noticing, by doing this meeting, then we don't have to do that formal procurement process, and we can sign the contracts with them and not have to worry about going back out every year or doing a formal procurement every year when it just yields the same result.
Actually, just to clarify, before this hearing tonight, we posted in the Daily Journal, which is the normal place we post when we're public hearing. And so they all see that this hearing is going to be held.
And I have two other notes. One was it lists the city council as the legal contractor, the local contract review board. Is there any reason why we shouldn't receive on a monthly basis how much has been spent on each of these contracts as part of the monthly status report, since it's putting council on as the legal representative for reviewing the contract?
So you'd like it to be included in the monthly status report?
To me, that would make sense,
Yeah.
so that we know how much is being spent on each of these particular contracts. Since apparently we're on the hook for it.
Yeah, I can note there. I don't see personally an issue with that. I would say, I defer to staff and you all on how much, staff and you all are being updated on, the progress of each contract. That term, local contract review board, that's just a state law term for the body that is in charge of reviewing essentially large public contract related decisions or deviations from the typical state procedure. That's just the name for it in statute. And the city council is designated as the city's local contract review board. So that's why this resolution or these resolutions are coming to you.
And we can approve that information
There's a limit in each of these.
Right, there's a not to exceed, and
Yes.
they cannot exceed without staff bringing it back to council and say, we're asking for additional funds for this situation that happened with water.
Yeah, so I personally don't see that necessarily, spend every month on any one of these contracts, as long as it's not going beyond the really limit, but you know, I'm just one voice, so.
I think that I think that I agree with Eric, that we need to see that.
Do we need to see it monthly or could it be quarterly?
I think monthly, it could be pretty easy to, I mean, you don't use all of these people every month, right?
No,
So,
That means there's stuff going on.
one thing, oh, you had something else, Eric.
I one more, but it wasn't, it was, a typo possibly, in resolution 2519. The final whereas clause.
You want California contract for the electrician?
That's the one.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, probably not appropriate.
Problem.
One question that I have is, if these are all 10-year terms, is that correct?
yeah, right now, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and it says 120,000 a year, but in 10 years, that $120,000 probably isn't gonna go as far. So is there some way that we can build something into that where it gives a inflation, I guess, increase or something if it's needed?
I'm gonna predict that, though, I mean, what number?
I can guarantee you this is gonna go up every year,
Yeah,
so
we don't, but no, by how much? Or it may go way down if we, you know.
I mean, we could do that, but not everybody, these are 120.
right, some of them
Okay.
are, less, but the ones that we know that we use.
Right.
And you can look, I mean, or Tim could look historically about what their costs have gone up annually. We're gonna see that, right? And so I think that might be something to look into, and that way we're not redoing a contract in 2 years because their prices have gone up.
So our attorney has a hand up, so maybe she can clarify.
Yeah, I think Ashley can help with that. I mean, that's a good point, and Ashley, go ahead.
yeah, so I just didn't want to interrupt, so I figured I'd just raise my hand. I believe that the contracts are actually 5-year terms with one option to renew. Is that right, Karen? That's how
Yes.
we're writing them. So it's actually so it is potentially 10 years and likely 10 years, but in 5 years' time, we will revisit the contract terms. And I believe, and one of the reasons we did it that way, I think, is the point that you are mentioning, which is that there may be inflation, there may be other things that we want to revisit at the 5-year mark. And therefore, it'll be good to be able to have that option. I'll also note that, oh no, it is 10-year term. You are correct. I apologize. Yeah, you are right. So it is a 10-year term. So I guess the other comment is, regardless of when the renewal is, you always have the ability to revise through a formal amendment at any point throughout the contract. So if you needed to earlier in the 10-year term, you would be able to, we would be able to bring, or staff would be able to bring that to you and say, inflation has been a little excessive in this department for plumbing or what have you, and we would request that the not to exceed amount would be increased, but it would just require a separate council authorization.
I think that I don't have a crystal ball, clearly, but having a construction background, I think you're gonna be coming back every year asking us for more money if we don't put something in there that gives the contractor a little wiggle room for inflation. 3.5%, something like that. I mean, not a huge amount, but something that at least says they can give their employees raises, they can do these things, and you aren't coming back to us every year.
So could we tie it to, COLA?
Well, a good example would be electricians. We're bound to what the state of Oregon's union electrician rates are, and every year those do go up by a certain percentage. We don't know what that percentage is. It's not a predictable percentage, but we're notified every year as to what the state of Oregon's electrical union has agreed to. And we have to adjust our budget to compensate. And your point is well taken. It's a little different in the world of excavation or some of the others, the plumbers. But Ashley and I can work on that to put some language in there that would give that flexibility that you desire.
Well, I think it would be good not just for us, but also
That
for
makes doing business a lot
the
easier.
contractors.
Definitely, and we can find a way to build in some sort of flexibility above the contract not to exceed that you all would approve for the particularly sensitive contracts like the electrician, for example, like you were mentioning. The other thing I'll say is these not to exceeds are simply what council is authorizing to right now or at the time of approval. And the contractors would still be permitted to go above that amount. It just would require a separate council approval. So this is essentially us setting a budget and then requiring additional actions of beyond that amount.
Is there a reason that, you went with a 10-year period rather than a 5-year and renewal? Because I kind of had the same thought that a lot could change in 10 years.
It can, and when I look back at what we've done in the last 8 to 10 years, it's pretty consistent. I think the only variable was during COVID, which was a very much an anomaly. But I think that this would fit the way we normally do business under these circumstances. These are very specialized, contracts. And they're, like I say, you know how we use our arborist. He's not allowed to be a tree cutter in the city. There's not a lot of arborists that will respond to a bid like that. And then as far as plumbing, electrician especially, we can't just have any electrician working in our pump station or our water treatment plant. It's because of the ramifications of someone being unskilled and doing that. And they have to respond at all hours of the day and night, and they have to respond within a certain length of time. And unless they're pretty local, they can't meet that response time. And
Is
so
it just-
that is a pretty consistent thing, you know.
Is it just burdensome to do it every 5 years or you just think nothing's gonna time it? Because we're essentially talking about locking up a contract for 20 years.
Yeah, well, it's 10 years with the option to renew that, and like Ashley says, at the 5-year mark, we're gonna be looking to see if there's gonna be some changes that need to be made. We wouldn't have made any changes in this last 5 years, and like I said, the only 10-year change was during the COVID. And so I think I'm comfortable with the 10-year, but I don't want any contractor to think that it's just a gravy contract. I want them to be competitive and earn their business with us. But that's a two-way street, you know. We put a lot of demands on the contractors under these firms, so.
We're not looking at contracts, so I'm just curious what these contracts look like. Can you describe the basic terms of the contract?
Well, I just did on the electrical, and so the plumber, this is a plumber that typically gets called out on the weekends when our, bathrooms get the most abuse during the summer. And the, conditions of some of those call outs are pretty extensive. Species all over the floor, sometimes someone's painted on the wall, they've broken fixtures off the walls or damaged the toilets, and so we have to have our ADA bathrooms open, so they're required to respond right away and rectify the situation. And
I'm
it
still not sure
requires,
what the terms of the contract are, what we're contracting with them
Mhm.
for.
Response time, a certain level of skill set, meaning they can't be a plumber that's just been on for a couple of years.
So
It has
there
to be
remain some of those
experienced.
terms as far as response times and.
That's all in the scope of the contract, saying these are the things that we need to meet the demands of what we need for support in these arenas.
And if I can add to that just really quick, in addition to response time, I think, well, it kind of goes hand in hand with response time, but being local is kind of crucial in that, right? So it really limits staff's ability to work with non-regional contractors to be able to have these quick responses to plumbing issues, tree issues, etc. Right? And I also wanted to note, you were asking about terms. Our next step, if and when these resolutions are approved, would be to upgrade or renegotiate these contracts that are in place with these contractors. So it would mean clarifying those required terms for the individual scopes of work, and it would also be checking all of the legal terms to make sure they're solid.
Back to Gary's point of the 5 years, or maybe I just wanna ask you a question, Gary. Are you concerned that maybe 10 years is too long because they won't be able to continue to execute their contract in the same way that they do when they start the contract? Maybe it gives us, the city, a shorter time review period of the contractor themselves.
I'm not sure that was a specific concern, but I could see that would be a concern. I more have a concern that the local market might change. And essentially, we've locked it up for, potentially locked it up for 20 years. So I don't, it just struck me as a long time. And I still trying to wrap my head around whether, 5 years makes it burdensome or,
If I may add two more comments to that, another option could be a 5-year term with 3 options to renew. So you would be doing potential periodic reviews every 5 years of, do you still like this relationship? Would you be interested in seeing what else is out there, etc. But it would be more reviews essentially, but this similar amount of time that you would be permitted to contract with those individual contractors. The other thing I would note is in any contract I would write, I would have a termination for convenience, right, for the city, meaning that as for any reason or for no reason, upon 30 days written notice, you could walk away from this contract. So if at any time you did feel that there were better options out there, you would be able to walk away from these agreements and contract with another entity.
say,
So you have a termination.
3, 5 years.
Yeah, it's, that termination clause is in our existing contract and we would have it in this one as well.
Are the options to renew are not, they're offered to the contractor if the city wishes
Correct,
to offer that option.
correct.
That's how we would draft it, yes.
Okay, so it's not, they just automatically get to sign on the dotted line. We can go out and get new bids or whatever if we
That
decide.
milestone, if the city decided that they wanted to put it back out to public bid, we could do that.
On resolution 2522, that's the building services, I believe.
Yeah, that's our small construction. Peter Lindsay used to be our handyman for many years, and he hasn't been doing that for quite some time, so we have struggled finding someone that can respond to our needs, like repairing our bus stops that have dry rot and all that. A lot of contractors on the coast are so backed up, they don't have time for little jobs like that, so we've been desperately trying to find someone that's local that can do those small jobs and work them in between other jobs they're already doing locally, so that it pencils out for them and they can be responsive to us, especially if it's something like a bus stop that can put the public at risk if the roof is failing or whatever. So we need to do a replace out of the public works yard because it doesn't latch properly and the building can't be secured. Those are small handyman type jobs that it's really tough to get someone to come do them. So that's
Okay,
this contract.
Yeah, I understand the need for it. So a little bit of housekeeping, channeling Nancy McCarthy. Under nature of the project, however, in no even should be event will an individual task order exceed 55,000. So in this one, we're only limiting it to an individual task limitation, not an annual amount? Or did I miss?
I think on that one was not to exceed amount as well, but I think what was it?
I don't believe so, Karen. I think for this one, it was just individual task orders. But
Oh.
if there's the intent to have a not to exceed, a total not to exceed, that's fine as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We did it on the individual project. It just varies so much. It's really hard. And so I looked back at the small projects and I just did an estimate of what those projects look like and try to define those for Ashley because it can be soup to nuts, you know?
So there's really no limit to the annual amount that,
Yeah,
Good.
they're not typically projects that exceed, you know, an annual amount of 50,000. They're very small in nature, and that's what makes it difficult to get people to come to these projects.
So in total, it doesn't exceed 50,000.
So far, it hasn't.
Yeah, so maybe we should just have that as a not to exceed 55,000 instead of per project.
We could do that. We got a small project that exceeded that. I just need to come back to you and say, here's the project, and get your approval to be able to move forward on it.
I'm not following this conversation, unfortunately. Here it says, however, no event or an individual task order exceed $55,000. So what do you want different from that?
so in other words, there could be 10
What if there is?
$55,000,
Right.
$54,000.
So 10,
So we're not limiting the annual amount.
no, because we have no way of knowing how many things can happen that will require a handyman.
Or we don't know how many,
Excavation.
how much we need on any
Well,
of these,
that,
but
yes.
that was just my question, is why does this one have a specific task rather than some kind of annual limit?
Well, with excavation, we've been doing it for decades, so we've got some history to draw from there with the small projects. They're here and there, they're not very often, there could be multiple in a year, there could be one or two in a year.
I
So
can
it's-
also,
yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt you. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I guess I was going to say, I also would add there that I think when we were talking through each of these resolutions and whether you want it or you would suggest them to have a total not to exceed, annual not to exceed, or individual task order limit, we were discussing, would it be more on-call services throughout the month, or would it be discrete projects that would be more likely to occur under these individual contracts? And for the minor upgrade, minor installation work, or minor construction work, Karen was saying it's more likely that these will be discrete projects rather than on-call services throughout the month, which is why we were thinking about setting the task order NTE instead of the full annual NTE. But to your point, I think setting an annual NTE is not an issue either.
Or,
It seems like there should be.
or setting 4 tasks, not to, throughout the year, not to exceed this much per task.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And that might be,
yeah. And the whole idea is just trying to make this less administratively burdensome. We don't have a contract procurement group in Kennedy Beach. So we're doing this along with all the other administrative duties, and these are activities that are constantly in motion. You know, they're not planned capital projects and things like that, where we've got some lead time. They're more responsive projects, you know, we're responding to a situation that's happening rapidly, so. Every time we gotta look and make sure our contract hasn't expired and follow up on that to make sure we've got contractors working on our current contract. It's just very labor intensive, so.
I think putting a cap on the number of handyman emergencies that will come up during the year makes no sense at all. We have no way of predicting it, no way of knowing it. And then you have to come back to the council if there was an extra one, another one, or another one. So I think that just putting a limit on the task specific and whatever. At some point, you have to trust that we're not just gonna be throwing money around to a handyman to do things that are unnecessary. So we'd only be calling him in if something was really necessary. And so at some point, you have to trust that, you know, we're not going to call someone in to do something we don't need. And this is,
Broken handrail at a beach access because the king tide logs ricochet up, it's stuff like that, you know? So it's hard to set a dollar amount on that. I mean, we could guess.
could be
but
25, it
it
could
would
be
just drive me back here in front
$2,500,
of
it
you
could be.
more.
Even though this isn't perfect, I like this idea a lot. It'll be good for this, it'll be better administratively, it'll save costs there, and it will save.
isn't this what we've been doing? Pretty much,
Sorta,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, it makes it less burdensome administratively, but it also gives us that annual cost control. And that's all good because it's much easier for us to manage things like this when there's multiple things happening. And from a budget control perspective, I really like that.
So up until now, previous councils have not had this formalized,
And not for this at the time, they were, like Ashley said, annually, not renewing. I think our, Barbara's was a 3-year contract, so we're constantly reviewing that. 3 years comes up super fast, so.
So, yeah, a couple comments there. I mean, first, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you all reviewing so closely. It's really helpful. And part of the reason why we wanted to have a work session for you all first, rather than, and have this time where I believe we're going to be coming back again, right? Is that what you said, Karen? We'll be coming back at a
November meeting for their approval, so we can amend
perfect.
one, section in there, make sure they're comfortable with it when they vote on the board.
Yes, perfect. So yeah, I think this initial meeting was meant to just allow you or introduce you all to the concept, to get your feedback generally, see if you were generally on board. So it's been very helpful in that regard. And then second, I think it wouldn't be an issue if you want to revise the terms to do that. I think I would just want to hear maybe a general kind of consensus on that one way or another. And otherwise, I think this has been very helpful and I appreciate everyone's feedback.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Exhibit A, resolution 2524. Under 11, nature of public improvement. 1 to 2 sentences about the nature of the work that will be done. Will it involve new pipes, plumbing, or waiting on existing infrastructure? Is that?
It's just a draft.
It looks like that needs to be updated. So the nature of the public improvement would simply be, if it would involve it would likely involve pipes and plumbing on existing infrastructure.
So similar to what we did with the Midtown restroom, that was a capital project, but let's just say we replaced a fixture in the Midtown bathroom after the big remodel for some reason. I mean, to me, that would be under that category. It's just a general description of what they would be doing, working on, still infrastructure. We moved a wash station from the side of the building to the back of the building. That required the plumber. You had to understand the infrastructure that ran through the Midtown bathroom to be able to do that. So that's the skill set that we're talking about.
Does that answer your question?
Not really. I don't really understand that.
They didn't put any description in there. We're supposed to list it.
That's a draft edit. So we apologize for adding that, for keeping that in the draft as drafted with the brackets. That will be updated when it comes back to you at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I was just not reading, like I read. And I'm on the term, can you make a case for 10 over 5 or 10-year with the 10-year renewal, as opposed to 5-year with 2 potential renewals, or a 10-year and then a 5-year renewal? I mean,
I can go either way. I mean, just like I say, I've put it based on past history and what we've done over the course of the last 8 to 10 years. And that 10-year mark was a good, tee up to this discussion. If you're more comfortable, thus backing that off to 5 years with a option to renew twice, I think that would be a good compromise if there's some concern there.
I don't know, what does everybody else think?
I don't have any concern.
I'm in the same boat with you are, Gary. I think also with Deanna's point, the 5 years gives us the option to open it up and then increase those dollar figures if necessary to follow inflation, as opposed to trying to build it in right now. With trying to make a guess 8 years from now, what's inflation gonna look like? If we're only looking 5 years out, we could assume CPIs and all of that, and if this matches what the potential CPI increases will be for the next 5 years, which I imagine that
It seemed like 5 years would more.
I came into the meeting thinking that I would prefer to see a 5-year.
Okay.
But I'm like listening to you because, respect your opinion. If you say, no, 10-year makes sense because of this, I would like to hear it.
And I judge that based on what's happened over the last 8 to 10 years. But again,
And you're judging it on, well, things really haven't changed, so they're not gonna change in the future either, so why not just?
putting these out to bid, we're getting the same audience back, so that's where the administrative burden comes on. But again, having that flexibility in the contract to say, no, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and put it back out to bid and see if the markets change. We have a lot of flexibility in this as a city. We're not tied on any of this, and that's the thing that's attractive to me. It allows the budget control. It allows the flexibility to make sure that we've got the best contractor doing the best work for us, and that we're staying competitive about what's available to us.
And
Maybe
it was a problem.
A lot
The
not a lot
contractor,
has changed over the last 10 years. In fact,
it's
it's
come
gotten
to you.
more challenging. Instead.
Maybe administrative burden sums it up.
Yeah.
So
And if there is a problem
That is a
there,
big,
Karen, if there was an inflation issue, wouldn't the contractor approach the city and then the city would approach the council?
and I know just based on the amount of support we've gotten from leadership in the past, when I bring you something and I tell you there needs to be a cost change here, and I tell you why, I've received your support, and I don't envision that changing. But I also want to drive the contractor to be competitive for us, and so it's a balance between those two. I'm not afraid to come back and ask you for more money if I was staying. But the point is for us to get the most competitive contractor with the skill set we need. And if that changes because of some market change, then I have no problem coming back and saying, here's what's happened, and ask for your support.
With,
Can I just
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead,
finish
Sherry. Yeah,
the discussion on that with my opinion? I think we ought to go 5 years with 2 renewals.
2 renewals, okay?
That's just
I know,
bit of a
I like
compromise.
those numbers, so I wanna, if we have good people, I'd like to lock them in for 10 years. I think that's a great idea, because it's so hard to find people. Okay, Eric?
I'm on board with Gary there, but
5?
5 years.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on board with Gary as well, and I also think that even though there's a termination clause in there, we are in a small town. And that's a hard thing to do. It's easier if you know you're in year 4 and you're having issues, you can muddle through and still save face for the city and contractor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you.
So we'll work on that so that, we bring it back on the bar, it'll be a 5-year with you renewal.
I just flip a coin. I mean, I trust our city staff is not gonna let anybody muddle through. The contractor, we hold them to high standards, so I'll be fine with either.
Appreciate that, and I think it's a good compromise, and I'm okay with that. So thank you for your support. Yeah, did you have another question?
No, I was gonna apologize for interrupting you.
No, we're good. I appreciate the input.
Thank you for our attorney Ashley for all of that.
She's been amazing to work with all these contracts.
Okay, thank you. Everyone.
No problem. I appreciate everyone's time tonight.
Okay, so I'm gonna close special session and open the work session, and first on the agenda is the Colvana Hall lease discussion. Andrew?
Amendment, the Tolwana Hall is leased by the Tolwana Arts Colony. The lease has specific language regarding the use of the premises as public building. Private events are currently not allowed. In May and July, council discussed allowing private party events. There's several things that come up in the discussion about the current lease. And these are things that we're suggesting that the council, consider is whether you want to make modifications. Do you want to place any restrictions or requirements on the maintenance of the property? There's no maintenance requirements in the current lease. We're recommending a lease termination after 180 days written notice. This is an increase from 90 days currently. Are there any other requirements you'd like to incorporate into the lease? And the major question, I think, is, did rental fees stay with Totalana Hall where they come to the city?
Okay, so should we start with 1.7 and see how everybody goes? On that?
Unless Andrew has something he wants to add.
Yeah, I would like to,
Would you like to make some comment?
yeah, first question, this is a, private rental stuff aside, this is a wholesale rewrite of the lease. Is this the same general terms that would be, like the academy would be under, like, we're basically like setting a policy across city, it's, and that would come, things like maintenance, and are we under the same?
Asking if the school would be, have the same requirements.
But there was talk about the last time about, updating all these leases, and I see that this is a total rewrite, it's not, so I was wondering if the school is under another city owned properties are under the same general.
That would be.
My understanding was that was the intent, this would be the
Yeah.
first one that gets done to create the model for all the other.
But there's differences.
Yeah, sure, but just generally,
That was,
That's
that was
right.
my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be better instead of.
Yeah.
The school would be totally different than this.
Right, but the framework.
The nuts and bolts would be the same.
Yeah.
All the maintenance is done by the city, blah, 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 we talked about.
so, as we started this thing, it was kind of, how can we put that building to use for residents, community members to gather for something like a baby shower? I think we're getting closer. I think we're getting closer. There's parts about this new lease I like. There's parts I think that I still have questions about. I'm on page 41, if you're, that's where I'm gonna be referring to, in this particular, it also says page 3 of 14 at the bottom if you're working in paper. Specifically looking at the fee schedule, I think it's odd to have a fee schedule in the lease dictated, over by the lease. I think it should be, under our purview, because it's our staff time that will be, making this work. I think it's, one issue I have with it, so it's broken down into different groups and different fees. Again, we have 501c3s listed under a pay scale. We don't want to be charging the Coastal Theater to rehearse. We don't want to be charging, nonprofits. So that's we got to flag that.
Me too. That was,
I think zero.
Yeah. I don't like the addition of commercial businesses being able to, like, there's a few carve outs for business. The intention here is to let the community use it, but not someone to go there and pay $30 an hour and start a business there.
So-
That's not the intention.
On groups 2, 3, and 4.
2 and 4 are basically
2 and 4.
specifically, I don't think.
So you don't have a problem with non-resident, not-for-profit, civic, social, religious service and youth organizations.
Yeah.
That would be a fee thing.
Yeah,
And so there'd be group 1, no fee, and group 3, a fee. Is that what you're considering?
yeah, I mean, like, if for $30 an hour for someone to be able to start a business there at any hour they want, that doesn't make much sense to me.
Can I chime in? I'm so sorry. This is an awkward way to make an introduction. My name's Jody. I wrote the lease. I work for BEH. I want to just clarify where that information came from. So, I was told that, council wanted to mimic something that was going on in Seaside. And so I was given a document that sort of had groups per, fee schedule per group. That is not something that you have to do. I don't want that to seem like that's a proposal from anyone at the city. I put that in there because I didn't know what else you wanted. So this is a good thing for me to hear. I do want-
Yeah, that's it.
One more thing. I am concerned that we're gonna try to prevent a specific group from ever using the property. If you're talking about charging them a fee, that's fine. But, doing like a flat out ban on a group, we're, in dangerous territory there. So I just wanted to say that. Okay.
Even in.
I think, first of all, on the first point, I think what we were looking at was how we define these groups.
Yes.
The not-for-profit, the civic, the social, the religious, the service, and youth organizations. I think that's really what we were looking at from the Seaside model.
And we have it, it's under 3.2, what resident shall need.
But it seems like if we go with group 1 and group 3, we are limiting it. I'm not sure, are we getting ourselves into a problem there because we are saying we're being very specific about either 501. Well, one is 501c3, civic, social, religious, social, and youth, or group 3, civic, social, religious, service, and youth.
Not for both not-for-profit, that's what we're saying. 1 and 3 are not-for-profit.
One is a resident.
The residential product
Yes,
is
but it's
is
both
different.
not-for-profit.
And so,
With
and
no
so,
commercial activity.
thanks for clarifying, I'm just trying to get the legal opinion, whether are we limiting something that you're concerned about?
You can charge groups different rates. That is fine. I thought I heard, and maybe I just misunderstood, but I thought I heard we were talking about excluding commercial commercial for-profit businesses entirely. If that's not what was said, then just nix my comment entirely and don't worry about it. But if you are, go ahead.
What's wrong with that? What would be wrong with excluding commercial, profit?
So when you start, sorry, delays. When you start excluding groups, sort of arbitrary groups, you start messing with commerce clauses and constitutional arguments. So charging them differently based on a public purpose, totally defensible. Just outright banning a private for-profit industry, it's a little harder to defend. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I'm just saying that it's a little bit.
That I'd have to take that to the board, but that'd probably be a non-starter. That would probably just torpedo this whole thing.
What would?
If any business was allowed to come in and use it for any profit making, that's not ever been the intention.
Yeah.
I
mean, our community halls always available for profit-making commercial enterprises to use, always?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Sorry. I can't swear by it forever and ever. If you're ever going to exclude somebody from public property, you need to have due process in place first. So it's not that, you couldn't theoretically come up with a way to justify an exclusion of for-profit businesses. It's theoretically something that you could do. Just know that you're in dangerous territory. I think that's sort of my warning.
I'm just wondering if you phrase it, that this is to be used for nonprofits, and that's it. In other words, it's for nonprofit use, community nonprofit, and then the other, that's non-resident nonprofit. Not saying specifically, oh, if you're a commercial group, you can't use it, but that's unwritten. But I'm almost positive I've seen other organizations that only allow their ability to be for nonprofit use. I don't think that's.
Probably pretty common with nonprofits, but you're the government, and so we have some restrictions that get placed on us outside of sort of day-to-day business, and that has to do.
The nonprofit being the lessee and the operator and manager of the space.
Theoretically, if they own the building, yeah, they could do that. But because it's publicly owned, it's technically public property, and so excluding groups requires some due process.
Public property leased out to nonprofit. That's what it is.
Okay,
That's
we go.
that's a legal
You know-
opinion that does throw a bit of a wrench into what we were trying to do.
Yeah, it certainly does.
I'd like, if we get more information on that prohibition from, in other words, it's public property leased out to a nonprofit. Would it be a violation of any kind of constitutional violation to just only lease it, only rent it or allow nonprofit use?
Sure, yes. I can-
Any- Yeah.
Yes, I can follow up with Bruce and Jennifer and provide an email with sort of an outline of the concerns. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is there a way to get a possibility or possible examples of places that have created those prohibitions on, commercial use of spaces open to the public? You said you're not positive, if there's a way to find, if that's something that does exist and if there's language that could be duplicated, that would be defensible language.
Well, so
You mean,
And other examples of it.
of the public, of a
Of a
public.
public building, right?
yeah, but this is not open to the public because it's leased to a nonprofit. So the nonprofit is the entity that is, facilitating the use of the building. So if it wasn't leased out to a nonprofit, it'd be a different situation, I think.
Because it says in the lease that we have 24-hour, 7 days a week,
Right. Exactly.
access to the building.
Okay, so let's wait and get
Okay.
somebody's going.
So-
on that. What's your next?
Can I suggest then, because this process has taken longer than I think any of us would have ever expected, and it's set to continue. The lease itself currently expires at the end of this year. Should we remove section 3.2 and extend the lease? And so we're not under the gun to do all this in one.
We thought.
I think
At
we
the end of the year.
I think we do need to answer those other questions.
Yeah,
But I would agree, let's wait on the, private event thing.
Just remove Article 3 entirely to be able to renew.
But I don't wanna lose
let's see what the
because
other
there are
issues are.
there are people in this community who want to
I know.
use that
Here's-
space.
here's my other concern.
We want to that.
My other concern about the language is, resident 501c3 not-for-profit, then civic, social, religious, service, and youth organizations, are they all 501c3
But
not-for-profit?
they're non-for-profit, but they might not be 501c3s. You can be a non-for-profit and not be a 501c3. So we can take out the requirement of a 501c3, because some of them are 501c something else, like a religious, it's not 501c3, it has a different numerical designation.
That was my concern about the
Yeah.
definition, because, we're eliminating things like the garden club that aren't formally a
So just, no, the
501c3.
garden club is written into the deed that gave the land, gave that building to the city.
I
And
understand
so,
that,
and they
but
need to
they're,
be in this lease.
according to the language of the
What if we took the C out and just put 501?
Community groups and all those.
Yeah, that's nonprofit, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, and.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, I was.
Are you still talking about the section 3?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get that.
I was under the absolute assumption that we were going to, and I know we're talking about language there. But I think it could be pretty simplistic and to allow, we don't wanna talk about fees in the lease at all. I think that needs to be completely removed. And that should say something along the line that the tenant is allowed, as their board approves, to lease this space. And then the board makes that decision with, and maybe there's some other language in there, at the attorney's request. I mean, I do understand that part, but I think that going a little bit further down the rabbit hole than needs to be in this lease.
I don't think that that it should be up to the, lessor to determine who gets to use the building or not, because the building belongs to the city. It's leased to Toll Vanna to use for nonprofit purposes. I think that what you'll end up happening if you don't clarify a little bit is you'll have one group wanting to use it. You have to, like, let's say, I don't want to use the garden club, but let's say a youth organization in town wanted to have hold one meeting there. I think that you have to write it into the contract, at least that it is open with oversight by the lessor to resident nonprofit organizations. And it has to be equally applied.
So why does the city need to control what Tolovana Artist Colony does? We
Because
lease
it's their
them,
building,
but-
they're maintaining the building, they're paying for it, they're paying all the costs of maintaining it, they're paying the heat, water, if the kitchen breaks, they're on the hook to fix it, they're paying for it, and it's, so I think that definitely need to have some kind of oversight. on it.
Yeah,
If I
I don't know, if it needs to be part of the contract or
If I,
what we're referring,
if I-
we're creating a fee schedule that we're referring to that we agree to.
if I can make a suggestion, what we can do to sort of save the lease agreement and sort of have the argument and the debate outside of it is we can put a reference in there. If you lease this premises, you can only do so if you have a policy in place approved by the city. And that way you can have this conversation separate from the lease agreement.
But in the meantime, you're gonna have. What happens with Coaster Theater? Can they use it? Can they not use it? If Coaster Theater uses it, can the youth organization use it?
Yeah, I mean, like, my understanding is any like a community group that is an organization like the theater, like the Land Conservancy, like anything like that, doors are open. The question where doors have not historically been open is to a baby shower.
Right,
Which
and baby shower
involves-
is neither commercial nor nonprofit. It's something.
It's a resident, that's why resident is in.
And I appreciate both sides of this, and I do obviously like the idea of not drilling down this legal rabbit hole and have, like it's kind of like when you think about, obscenity when you see it, a community use when you see it. Writing it in a lease is onerous and difficult, but I think we all know, what is an appropriate community use.
I like,
We may differ a little bit, but
I like Jody's proposal. That there's verbiage in there that states that Tolovana Artist Colony will provide a written proposal before they're able to lease it for monetary value.
there you go.
Yeah, I can draft something up.
And policy.
An approved policy, yeah.
Yeah.
Before they
Yep.
can
Can we-
get money for it, they'd have to have a
Yeah.
policy, but I'd like to see somewhere in the lease just saying that, just making it clear that it is open for use by local nonprofits. I think that's important, and then that.
I
leaves- And I
I
also.
can put that in there as well. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Deed restriction. In the original deed for the use by the garden club. They're nonprofit, but they use it once a month. And they were guaranteed to get to use it once a month.
It actually says it permitted use of the premises, meetings for local community groups and clubs, so that covers that, and it does change, section 3 is when it's, again, taken in mind. So there's a difference, and I like that.
Take the money out,
Yeah.
move the money.
But yeah, but for the non-rental use, we're already got it in.
I agree with that.
This started with a memorial service or a birthday or whatever, so you wanna keep going down this rabbit hole, I'm trying to get this defined and, or not.
It just seems like every time we turn one corner, we walk into another wall. If we could,
Well, the birthday
Yes,
party
yes.
was for some in the garden, and that's what made it much stickier, because vision is written into the deed for the garden club, so. That is partially why that whole wax started rolling, because it was the garden club specifically. So
Well, it seems like we need an opinion on this. If we're going to open it up for rentals, can it just be the nonprofit? Or yes, the nonprofit. So that's the question that we really need to get answered to know if we're gonna move forward with the whole rental thing.
I think
But-
Jody made really good suggestions about letting us be able to, taking the monetary part out of this and putting some verbiage in place. I really like what you said.
Well,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
good if
So
we're
I-
going to, it's good if we're going to move along with the whole rental thing, but I think that's still up in the air until
And,
we get
and
that
then you could
opinion.
take out, do rental fees stay with total rent, oh, we don't have to address that now, because we don't know if there will be.
But we do need to address 1.7 and 1.8.
Well, I guess I have one question about the do you have people just beating your door down to rent that space?
no,
Thank you.
But we do want to update the lease, so we need to deal with 1.7 and 1.8.
Why, okay, the one point I'm curious, what precipitated that change from 90 days to 180, why, what is that?
That was me. So, when I drafted this up, I used our standard BEH template, and our standard template has 180 days. It's, nothing of particular note other than I wanted to know you have options. Generally speaking, landlords appreciate more time than less, but if you want to just stick with the 90, don't feel obligated to go to 180 just because I put it in the draft. You can
Okay,
stay at 90.
They want 90,
I think 3 months is good.
okay. Keep it at 90. Thank you.
Restrictions, requirements on the maintenance of the property. We've already defined the major, the roofs and
Structural stuff.
Yeah.
structural things that, the city is responsible for. But I think that's a good question. Do we want to require some kind of maintenance? So what kind of maintenance do you do on a regular basis?
sweep the floor, clean the sink,
Bathroom.
wipe the toilets down, keep the paper towels stocked, just
Normal
general.
housekeeping.
We have every other Sunday, the trash is removed.
By whom?
The city carpet van guy
Who pays for that?
sits.
Paint?
We paint, we put enough holes in the wall, putting up art that every so often we'll spackle and paint.
So the general day-to-day maintenance is provided by the city.
Provided by Total Water.
No, if the city, if we're, yeah,
Are there janitorial services provided by the city, Bruce?
Yes.
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 that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I wouldn't say
Yes.
full janitorial, I would say the trash removal and an occasional sweep.
And
They don't get into the toilet, they don't get into the kitchen, they don't know, that's stuff that I,
Okay,
So what is the, do you know what's in the janitorial contract with them?
I don't, Karen may put it on off the top of her head. What all was done in there, I know that the very.
Yeah.
It's gonna be minimal. It's gonna be minimal.
minimal, so it's just track,
basically it's just trash,
okay.
every other Sunday after.
So is there some stock rental language about maintenance? Non-structural maintenance?
Upkeep or something?
Or could it be as simple as just saying the city will provide trash service for the public
On Sundays.
every other.
Well,
I don't think we want to tie it.
every
Yeah.
other or every,
Just see there'll be regular trash service provided by the city or something like that.
This is the other side of the coin. This is, at least I'm reading it. Do you want to place any restrictions or requirements? I'm assuming that's for the leaseor. On the maintenance.
So if I can chime in, if this section is tied to 5.2, which does lay out specific maintenance duties for each party. I put the note up high so that it got more attention, but I think section 5.2 is where we should really delineate who's responsible for what. And if there's anything that I drafted in there that's wrong,
Thank you.
tell me. Yeah.
Is there anywhere in here that states how they should leave the premises? If they were to vacate the property, is it just a broom finish?
Let me check. You know, I don't think I did anything specific to,
Why would you? Then you think that you're gonna trash it and then flip?
So does 5.2 make 1.7 move here?
Are you asking the attorney?
I missed the question. You are. Yeah, go ahead. One more time.
That's what you just pointed out, the 5.2, which is tenant responsibilities for maintenance.
Yes.
5.2. Is that not what 1.7 is referring to?
It is, but 1.7 is about, because there's no exchange of value, to my knowledge, they're not paying rent. You need to have some sort of consideration. So this section is about consideration, and the consideration is they're maintaining the property. But
So
that,
you-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what you're asking for is, in consideration for the tenant maintaining the premises as per 5.2. Is that?
I could update that so it's more clear. Sure.
So, Andrew, right now, if, like, I mean, how I remember it, if a light fixture broke, it stopped working. We didn't, the total on ours probably did not fix the light fixture, the city fixed it for us.
There has been a light, we've replaced the light fixtures,
Right, if that was
there.
or, you know,
it's never come up. That I can recall of everything.
well, there was a time when some of the light fixtures didn't work very well, and
Yeah,
Along
we
with the
redid them, you know.
so I'm just wondering if these things that are in 5.2, some of them are easy to do, but some of them, you know, replacement fire extinguishers, maintain all portions of the premises and fixtures situated within the premises in good order and repair. I mean, like right now, for example, there's a short from the kitchen in the electrical system, so you plug in a kettle, blows the circuit, you know. Is that gonna now be your responsibility?
No, because it says it's in the landlord, systems such as mechanical, electrical, HVAC and plumbing. So that's in 5.1. And back to my point.
Wait a minute, just 1 second, hang on a second, I'm asking him, so right now, anything that's electrical, mechanical, or plumbing, so what is left?
It's an interesting thing because like we don't have, we keep that space clear, so it's not like we're building up, you know. things that are breaking because it's basically just an empty canvas.
Right.
So there's not, I mean, the only, the general, the only wear taking place is to the floor, like people
Right, so what,
moving on. I don't,
5.2.
so it's never come up.
Yeah, 5.2A, what are you doing? Because if the city is maintaining the electrical, mechanical, all and the plumbing. So what would 5.2, what are you maintaining with your parents?
So, the way I'm reading this, 5.1 refers to specifically the systems, the mechanical, electrical, and gas systems. So that's what's within the walls and what's within the systems. 5.2A is the fixtures, so if a light bulb or a light fixture that's outside of the wall has some defect or whatever, that's what it is.
Of course, the closet door broke off or something like that. If the closet door broke off or the blinds fell down on the window, that would be our responsibility.
Okay.
As I, the reason,
But you had to replace the blind.
that would be our responsibility.
That would be.
But that's not a mechanical system as is laid out in 5.1.
All right, so.
Replacing,
all the-
sink fixtures, light fixtures, so this fits with your understanding. Maintain all portions of the premises and fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, knock on wood, and very little that's come up.
Okay, Deanna,
So-
do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to go back to the question that I had asked earlier, and that was, a move out clause. Even if it is, just so it's in there, if they leave the place trashed and there's no clause in there, there's no recourse.
Yes, yes, I do not see anything in here that says you'll leave the property in the state that it was in prior to entering, so I think that's a great addition. That's pretty
Even
standard.
just a broom finish, just some sort of something.
Yes, I can add that in for sure.
Thank you.
That's kind of interesting though, because the Tolovana is funded by the city to begin with. You know, the Tolovana Arts Colony is funded pretty much solely by.
No, not very much so, not even half.
Well, I mean, fundraisers,
Well, I mean, like, there were many streams of,
are there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do grants, a lot of grants?
grants, I mean, like anything like a Philmont Arts Colony program, there's percentage going to, there's percentage
Right.
of sales from, art shows, there's fundraisers, there are numerous.
Membership.
Okay, so what you say, what percentage do you think of your budget is funded by grants from the city?
Grants from the city, I'm gonna leave out tourism and arts, because that's per program, two specific programs. I'd have to look, I mean, like. I would say right now. All income. Don't quote me on this, I've never had it, like less than half.
Okay,
And a lot of that money from the city goes right back. Goes, like Conduit in the Park goes through us, goes right back up.
Do you think we've discussed everything that needs to be discussed here
Well,
to eliminate the rental for now, but update this lease?
yeah, and one thing I wanted to say was go with a 1-year lease and see how this works, but now that we're not charging rent, I don't think that matters.
right, yeah, great, thanks.
What, 1 year lease?
So she was gonna say, she was gonna suggest 1 year if we were doing the rent.
Oh.
Just to see how.
Without the rent.
So can we go back to the 5-year terms that we
Yeah,
were doing?
without the rental thing, why would that matter?
Scared.
So. I got a reason, not scary. So Jody, do you know exactly what your tasks are?
Yes, I've taken good notes. I will bring back a draft that I think you'll all like much.
Yay.
And question before you go though. Because. I don't wanna keep harping on this, but I feel like I have to. Because there is a deed restriction in the original deed where they person who owned the building gave it to the city. There was with a proviso that they permitted the garden club to use it once a month. Does that need to be in this lease? It would seem to me it should be.
Deed stays the deed, right? Deed stays the deed doesn't change.
It's in the deed, it has to happen, but I think
But
that
should we have a reference in
it should be
the,
a reference, I think, because otherwise there might be questions about, well, why does the garden get to use it once a month and nobody else does? Well, it's just because whoever gave it to the city, obviously the damn garden club said, yeah, you can have this building for free, but you need to let the garden club use it once a month.
And if the garden
I
club
think-
needs a big party, they need to say it's for the garden club. Sorry, Judy.
I think that's okay. I think that that is perfectly fine to add in, at least at the very least, it shows that we at least notified them of this thing. It
Okay.
doesn't necessarily change anything, but it does protect us from any sort of argument that they didn't know. So I can add that. Yes.
anything else?
Yes, there's something I want to share with everyone, something I've talked to you about, something I've talked to Bruce about. We're floating the idea of a mural on the Tolwan Hall / CB Academy grounds. Think of the mural at the old school here. We want to involve the kids in the painting of said mural. There is a small retaining wall on the south end, pretty short, may need to, but basically, I just want to gauge everyone's, interest, comfort in doing something like that. Obviously, this is something that would go through many rounds of, iterations of design, probably through DRB, there will be levels to it. It's something that the Arts Colony wants to facilitate and fund. We've been talking to Donnie Masterson, who's coming up with some mural ideas. He is in one of his many jobs, he's a professional muralist, and he was very excited about the possibility of working with the kids. Mary Ellen likes the idea, so I just want to seek general blessing.
I think really weird.
You have our blessing.
Okay,
Thank
great, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Andrew.
thank you again, Jody. Okay, now the next topic. The water. Matthew, please. Matthew's doing. Update.
I think this is gonna be a lot easier than that last.
We can all clearly.
All right, let's see here. In 2017, the city developed 20-year water master plan that was adopted by council and approved by the whole Oregon Health Authority. Since that date, the city has made significant progress on completing projects within the master plan, requiring an update to the plan for the next 20-year areas of focus. City staff, along with the Public Works Committee, have met monthly over the past 8 to 10 years to review and discuss projects currently underway, as well as desired future projects as the city progresses in its master plan project focus on maintenance, upkeep, and improvements to the drinking water infrastructure. Based on the progress made to date and many of the projects identified in the 2017 master plan being completed, the city hired Windsor engineers to assist with updating the current plan with a 2025 water master plan. Members of the Windsor engineering team are here tonight to highlight the projects outlined in the new plan, and together they and staff can answer any questions that council might have on specific projects. And I also want to mention that we have the chair from the Public Works Committee here tonight as well. Attached is a draft copy of the updated water master plan, which outlines the projects that collectively the city staff and Public Works Committee recommend be considered for approval by council. And I do want to note a error that I made in the recommendation. We wouldn't actually bring it back to you for approval on the November 4th. It actually goes to OHA as a draft first, and then we bring it back to you once OHA is. So I will make that correction, when we bring that back to.
And how long is that timeline? Does it depend?
Don't know how long OHA would take. I can go back and look at, I kind of mimicked our staff report in 2017, which is before I had hired on. Mallory made a whisper to me tonight to say, actually, it's gonna go to OHA as draft first, and then we bring it back to you for approval, assuming that they approve it. So I'll send an email follow up on what kind of time frame I'm looking at.
Thank you.
So Hillary and Travis are here from Windsor. And so I'm gonna have them go through the master, not the master plan as a whole. We're gonna do a summary sheet and you guys can ask questions about specific projects within the master. plan. Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. Mallory's gonna provide most of the presentation. So, I'm Travis Tormanen, Windsor Engineers, and, we've been working with, Public Works since 2019 on water system projects, mostly related to the seismic resiliency. But as part of the most recent, the backbone design for the resiliency program, there was a line item for this master plan update, because a lot of the water system's changing a lot with the new reservoir, all the new pipelines, so the needs, forward, the hydraulics of the system have changed. And then a lot of like Karen said, a lot of the projects have been checked off, so this is an opportunity to see, well, what's next. You'll see that the focus is on, keeping existing infrastructure functional. There's not a plan to expand into, a new part of town, or there is no new part of town plan that we're aware of. So but the city has a lot of assets in the water system, and to take care of them costs money, and it kind of requires an ongoing, a maintenance plan. So, Mallory will present some of the details of what went into this and what the outcomes were.
All right, good evening. I'm Mallory Taylor. I'm with Windsor Engineers. Do I direct to Russell, or are you gonna switch the slides?
Yeah.
Okay,
Slide when you're ready, go flip it.
great. So we're gonna do an overview of the plan. It's over 130 pages without appendices. We're not gonna go into that much detail tonight, but you did get a digital copy. If you wanna go into the weeds more with it. We're gonna talk about what the master plan does, why we're doing it, the process of developing approval, and then we'll give you an overview of the capital improvement plan, and here to answer any questions you might have. So what is a water system master plan? It's an overview of your entire potable water system, so your drinking water system. It documents your historic and projected growth that you might see. Not a lot of growth is projected at all. It's an analysis to ensure you're meeting regulatory requirements, and it provides a capital improvement plan for a 20-year planning period. So we're looking into the future 20 years. Right, next slide. Why are we doing it? It helps you to budget and plan for your capital projects. It will assist with funding applications. It's required by the Oregon Health Authority. And they ask that you update it about every 10 years or with significant changes to your water system. So the city has proactively decided to do that, because their last plan was approved in 2017, so we're about at that 10-year mark. And like Travis mentioned, there's been a lot of changes to your water system, including the seismic resiliency plan, which was dated 2019. So all that information was not integrated into your previous plan, which this plan does include that. And also, we're mainly here to ensure safe and reliable drinking water and looking into the 20-year period. Next slide. So this outlines the process that we're in. Item 1 is developing a water master plan. we've been doing in collaboration, with Karen and the Public Works team. Item 2 is where we are now. This is coming to the Public Works Committee, City Council, presenting our draft version, getting comments, from you and the public. And after we have addressed those comments to your satisfaction, we will, ask for consent to send it to OHA, Oregon Health Authority. And I did talk with the person who'll be reviewing it. He said it does not need to be formally adopted or stamped by the engineer for him to review it, offer comments, and or concur with the document. So we could technically send it and get comments from him, come back, address them, and then item 4 would be after we address those comments from OHA and they concur with it, then we would bring it back to you for formal adoption.
Which would most likely be what, December, January?
Well, if we were to send it to them, this month, I would say a minimum of 3 months to get comments back and then turn those around. Yeah, so.
Early first quarter.
Yeah. Okay, so next slide, we're just gonna skip over the whole capital plan and go right to the end, which outlines the capital improvement projects. And that's what this slide is showing. These are all the projects that we're proposing to include in your capital improvement plan. These are planning projects. This isn't a contract. And we've put these into different categories. So we have distribution system projects. This is things like replacing pipes and working with fire flow improvements. We have seismic projects on here. And we have some source water projects, so protecting your water sources at the springs. We have some telemetry and SCADA projects. This group is the electronics and monitoring of the equipment. And then we have a water treatment project. The total we have is 21.5 million as an estimate. Again, this is over 20 years in the future, now and into the future. And what do I want to say about this?
Now, the project SE 01, the project that was discussed in last week's council meeting for the background.
Yes, and I understand that funding was approved and secured for that item. So we did go over each of these projects in detail with the Public Works Committee last month. We can go over in detail any of these projects that you want. Happy to answer any questions. The last slide is essentially saying that, thanks for your time. Happy to answer any questions. And as a side note, the picture that is up here is the current construction site up at the main reservoir where the new seismic reservoir is getting constructed. That was taken last week. So you can see the existing main reservoir in the background there, and that's the foundation in the foreground. And on the third page, on why we're doing the master plan, it's another existing construction project. Reservoir.
Questions from council on any of the projects that we have teed up in our master plan?
I was wondering on a source water protection or land acquisition, which I assume is purchase or watershed, basically. And it's a number one priority on the list of priorities, but it's not scheduled till, 10 years, 5 years from now, right?
Well, earlier conversations with council, you approved Bruce and I to engage in some early conversations about some potentials that might be available to us. That required a letter of intent or a confidentiality agreement. And our legal team put something together that was very robust and it brought in potential for discussions for screeching halt. So I think it was a little bit overkill, for the folks that we, were having the conversations with. I think it scared them away. But I am making attempts to, have our legal team scale it back a little bit to just be a simple agreement saying what you tell us and what we tell you cannot be shared beyond this discussion, and make it a little more simple. And so assuming that we get that secured, I'm hoping that those conversations will go on, and the whole goal here is, this was the same item that was in our last master plan, we carry it forward, and it is to expand our watershed, not only for protection, but hopefully to add volume for our current, springs that we get water from, fed from a different head than what we currently feeds our springs, so that would be the goal in that discussion.
So I assume that that land, that is in the watershed that would be like required belongs to timber companies? Is that?
It does, it belongs to our adjoining neighbors, which is Newbie, the former, Greenwood.
Okay.
I have a question about the distribution system project, so D1, pipe replacement, the 286,900, that's annual cost, correct?
Yes.
And that was in our existing, our 2017 master plan.
Yes.
Yeah. It allocates 1,000 linear feet per year to be replaced. How much of that have we been doing?
Well, our main focus has been the water seismic, water resiliency project.
Mhm.
So we've done some line replacements as we've had failures in our lines, or some of the guys are aware of areas where there was some issues, Dan with his team. And if the budget allowed for it, then we did that. I don't have a number for you off the top of my head, but I can follow up and email and let you know what we've done relative to that.
Yeah.
Since the last master plan. But that has been in concert with what we've, already been in the throes of water resiliency.
So it was done as needed and not proactively.
Some of it was proactive, but like Well Park, when it blew, we dealt with that. So it was kind of both.
I asked about SE04. It sounds like it's adding some functionality to the transmission. The backbone transmission. Can you describe?
Did
What
you
that
say-
is this?
SE04?
Yes.
The seismic, the actuator, emergency valve.
So, the intent of the seismic valve, so first of all, we're putting in one at each tank. So if the pipe system breaks, then we can hold the water in the tanks. That's separate from this distribution project. What's described here is additional seismic valves at several places in the water system. So if there's a break, say in the S curves, if there's a big earthquake, we had that valve, we would just shut off near the S curves. See, is that pipe still there? Okay, then let's open it back up. So this would break the city into several sections that each could be isolated, because you don't know where a break's gonna occur. And this allows, rapid response, and then operators can override the closure once they're comfortable that looks like it's okay to turn it back on. Okay.
So without these valves, if there was a break in the system, is the water just gonna keep flowing in town?
Yeah, until somebody can get out on the street and turn off the valve. And the concern is, if there's a lot of breaks, it can't be in every place at once, there might be bridges out or
Or you can
roadblocking.
get to a place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's existing water mains then, or?
I just would add that for the seismic valve, the exact locations would be determined during, the design process. And the new backbone transmission main would come into play with that as well, because that'll be a heart of the line that is more seismically resilient. So, you know, I don't wanna get into too much detail, but one idea would be, you know, you wanna keep water coming into town through that new backbone, so maybe you would wanna isolate the newer system from the older system, so you can at least get water into town in an emergency like that.
So do SE1 and SE4, I'm sorry, Heather.
Say again.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's all right. That's what I just mentioned last week to you, is the backbone provides that secondary path, so that when the lines within town fail, we still have water coming into town in those connected areas.
So then do SE1 and SE4 go hand in hand, or can they be done separately?
So we did put them separate so that you could piecemeal it if you want to and say, hey, let's put a seismic valve in with the transmission main, or perhaps during pipe replacement project, you're like, oh, this would be a good place to do that. You could take out a seismic valve and add it into there.
Needs a little bit more budget control, flexibility in that as well. But at the time when we finalized this, we didn't know for sure we were getting that funding. And so that happened when we were making the final draft to get ready to bring it to you guys the week prior.
So, so ideally those go hand in hand. Or am I misunderstanding?
You have the option to do it either way.
Except for the first funding package only covers SEO1 and not SEO4, right?
Right.
Yeah, these aren't necessarily valves though in the back,
No,
but they might isolate the backbone because
they could
Just say-
contribute as you're going about doing pipe replacements and in parts of town and putting the backbone in, you can decide where you would want to put these seismic valves that would be most advantageous.
In concert with the backbone.
Right.
the backbone will connect to the old system in maybe half a dozen places. So those would all have to be manual closures right now, but we're after the backbone's in and before SE04 is good. Good news is the backbone itself is very accessible. It's along highways, so the valves that would need to be closed are also pretty accessible.
Any other questions?
No, you really put together an incredible package. I thought I was gonna be bored to tears looking through it, but actually, I was copying down printing out pages, and I thought it was interesting.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah, it really is, way more comprehensive than I can understand, because a lot of the technical things I do not have that much knowledge of. But still, there were things in there,
Yeah.
accessible, and really good job.
I don't know if your attorney would agree or not, but I think master plans are more interesting than leases myself.
I'd just like to recognize the job that Windsor's done on this. As you know, Civil West of the previous one, they did an outstanding job. It's been nice to be able to have a perspective of working with another team. And the interaction with our Public Works Committee, we've had a recent churn in membership, but prior to that, we've had some folks that were on that team for a long time. And they were very involved in this process, as was our 3 water team members. So Daniel and Daryl and Sean were very involved in giving the data to Mallory to do some of the evaluation. And they gave their desired wish list on what they want to see them to do next in the system. So they did a really good job. It was a lot for everybody to work on. Just the data alone is kind of overwhelming, but it really gets us somewhere. And the guys got to go through that entire process.
Just one last question. Is it possible that SO01, this source water protection land acquisition, will end up happening sooner than the projected 5 years?
I'm hoping so. I'd like to have a conversation before I go, at least to get it going again.
Yeah.
And it's very likely that we would come back to you and say, we'd like to move this up. I mean, what we did in the previous master plans, both of them, was to take the projects and prioritize them. And we had the priority 1, 2s, and 3s. And those priority 1s were our objectives. Those are the things that we push forward and we search for grants that qualify, those projects qualify. And other types of funding to help not drain our reserves from our utility fund with a balance of both. We'll do the same thing with this, and sometime that in itself will change your pecking order if you're priority 1, 2s, and 3s. Or if a grant window opens up and you get an invite saying, we have $500,000 available and it can only be used for line replacement. If that's a priority 2, and there's $500,000 available, we're gonna chase it. And that may get moved up in the pecking order. So we do prioritize it just for budget planning, but there's things that can change that pecking order that becomes available to us that we might not be aware of. So I would just say, just keep in mind, it's a little bit fluid in that respect. But from a budget perspective, for Bruce and finance director and public works director, they gotta know their vision and their top objectives. And so that's a project that you guys say is just as important as an infrastructure improvement. And then we bring it to you and talk to you and say, this is available and it's a now or never opportunity. You might bring that up to the top. We just gotta get those conversations going again and not make it so difficult.
Golden, I think, the water system master plan is a little fluid.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Karen's mine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Final question is, are you okay with us moving forward and giving this to OHA to review?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Everybody okay? So we're all for tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
It took a lot less time than the leave.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Thank you.
That's why it's 200 pages, right? I appreciate the conciseness.
We all do. Okay, lifeguards. Oh,
See how lifeguards can be.
yeah. You have a challenge. Quicker.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. So, I apologize, my notes are on my phone, so I'm gonna be reading and looking at the presentation at the same time.
So this is our annual lifeguard presentation of lifeguard season. In 2024, in June, we hired Koa as the head lifeguard to run the lifeguard program. So I will turn it over to Koa to do the presentation. Jason will be here to help answer questions.
So yeah, hello, my name is Koa Liu, head of the Canada Beach Social Safety Division. Today I'll be presenting the 125 Canada Beach Social Safety Annual Report. Next slide. Just a little bit of history. So the Canada Beach Lifeguard Program originated in 1938.
Peter Lindsay.
This program has been an integral part of the community since then. It was originally formed by citizens, and it is considered to be one of the oldest programs on the West Coast. In the early years of the program was completely funded through donation jars that were placed around town, and it was sustained entirely through community donations. When the city of Canada Beach was incorporated in 1957, the lifeguard program was brought under the jurisdiction of the police department. Next slide. In 2024, under an intergovernmental agreement with the city, between the city and the fire district, Canada Beach Fire District completely took over the program, and formal management was transferred to the fire district. This transition led to the hiring of a head lifeguard, and it was my job to further develop the program, and I began in June of 2024, as Chief has stated. Next. One of the primary goals set by Deputy Chief Smith was to obtain the USLA agency certification. The United States Lifesaving Association is the national association of open water lifeguarding in the United States. The USLA sets the standards for training, safety, rescue protocols in any open water environment. USLA certification is considered to be the gold standard for open water lifeguarding. Agencies certified by the USLA must meet rigorous standards in training, equipment, staffing,
and rescue operations, ensuring the highest quality of public safety, or highest level of public safety. Being certified by the USLA is not just a credential, it's a mark of prestige, professionalism, and commitment for saving lives at the highest standard in the industry. Next. Over the first 6 months of my hiring, I focused on establishing new operational standards, rewriting policies and procedures, and developed a comprehensive training program to align with the USLA standards. After a very rigorous and demanding review process by the USLA, we achieved the USLA agency certification this year in April. Beyond earning the certification, this process also highlighted the importance of consistency and standardization, which helped us shift our focus to all aspects of our operation when it comes to ocean safety. With that being said, this led to the integration of the lifeguard program and the fire surf rescue team, forming the Ocean Safety Division of Cannon Beach Fire District. Through this division, we've established new standards and raised the bar for ocean safety and rescue throughout our district. We've enhanced our rescue watercraft operating training and implemented more effective techniques for our rescue swimmers and lifeguards. Additionally, we've launched the Cannon Beach Safety brand, Ocean Safety brand, and a new logo which expands our social media presence to increase public awareness and ocean safety as a whole. Our goal is not only to promote ocean safety, but also serve as a valuable resource to visitors to the area. The lifeguard season began with the hiring or open recruitment and hiring of 2 lead lifeguard positions in mid-March, and we began preseason beach patrols in April. Once both lead guards were on board, we've completed the hiring process for our seasonal guards, which included written testing, physical assessments, and interviews. Preseason preparations and our training academy continued through May 27th, at which point we started fully staffing the beach. Historically, the lifeguard season has ended on Labor Day with no full season coverage. However, historical data shown that continued need for coverage through October and the late September into October was needed. As a result, we extended the season through the end of October with a dedicated postseason staffing plan. This year, due to forecasted king tides in the first week of November, we further expanded lifeguard operations through the second week of November to ensure continued public safety during the heightened ocean conditions. During the lifeguard season, our lifeguard team comprised of lifeguard captain with me, 2 lead lifeguards, 9 seasonal lifeguards, and 10 firefighter lifeguards with 4 support tower staff also on the team. Our objective was to maintain a minimum of 3 lifeguards on duty at the beach each day. According to our records, we consistently exceeded this goal and regularly staffed 4 daily and on occasion 5 to 6. The lifeguard shifts began at 10 a.m. to allow for daily setup, equipment inspections, and preparation of essential gear, including medical kits, patrol vehicles, rescue boards, swim fins, and rescue tubes. From 11 a.m. to 7:15 p.m., the tower and beaches were fully staffed and actively patrolled. The lifeguard tower operated on hourly rotations, ensuring continuous coverage and vigilance throughout the day. To evaluate the effectiveness of our program, we document all public contacts, including the type and nature of interaction. In 2025, we focused on enhancing our prevention efforts through more meaningful face-to-face engagements. Supporting this goal, we implemented a new patrol model and proactive outreach. This strategy was instrumental in promoting a safe and successful season. Prevention remains the foundation of effective lifeguarding. By engaging beachgoers, lifeguards can address potential issues before they escalate into emergencies. A total of 670 public contacts were made in 2025. This is a decrease of 682 from the 1,352 contacts recorded in 2024. Along with a notable decline in beach attendance due to colder and windier weather, this reduction is largely attributed to the lifeguard training, which or improved lifeguard training, which has enabled more targeted interventions and help accurately identify patrons who genuinely required intervention. The 670 incidents resulted in 5,066 patron contacts. This reflects the significant drop in patronage, with numbers nearly cut in half compared to last year's 10,073. One of the most impactful results of our enhanced preventative efforts have been a significant reduction in rescue incidents. We are proud to report a steady decline from 10 incidents in 2023 to 4 incidents in 2024, and further down to just 3 incidents in 2025, with no actual rescues required in the most recent season. This trend highlights the success of our proactive prevention first approach. In 2024, one of the four recorded rescue incidents was an active rescue of a 10-year-old child who became caught in a rip current near Coda Creek. Thanks to our increased patrol presence, a lifeguard was on routine patrol and quickly recognized the distress and successfully rescued the child, undoubtedly preventing a potential tragedy. This year in 2025, all reported incidents were classified as assist, with no genuine danger to threat or life. This further affirms the effectiveness of our strategy focused on intervention and public education. The lifeguards face many unique challenges of lifeguarding on the Oregon coast. Cold water, the ocean often remains below 60 degrees even during the summer months, which increases the risk of cold shock, hypothermia, and impaired motor function, both for swimmers and rescuers. Cold shock can incapacitate swimmers within minutes, and hypothermia sets in fast. In cold water, every second counts. Sea fog is a major challenge. You click for lifeguards. Oh no, go back to the video. It'll play. Click once more. Oh, did not go. Oh, all right. Well, moving on. So that video is just a video of the how quickly the sea fog will set in. Within hours. It'll just be a clear day, and then within minutes, the sea fog would just be set in. When the sea fog rolls in, it's due to limited sight lines. It increases the hazards of being in the area. Next slide. So king tides obviously is one of the big events that occur due to gravitational forces from the sun and moon. On these days, typically the water level will rise higher than you ever see it through the year, essentially generating violent sneaker waves that come off the beach. The dangers associated with these waves can dramatically alter the beach conditions and safety. These events increase intercoastal flooding, rapid beach inundation, and significant shoreline erosion. Stronger and more predictable rip currents, unusually larger sneaker waves, and reduced beach access and common king tide areas. For lifeguards, king tides present a unique challenge. Operationally, normal patrol zones become inaccessible, response times are impacted, and rescues are more hazardous due to unstable terrain and wave activity. Also, a lack of awareness by unsuspecting onlookers creates additional safety hazards. And so here are some of the examples of king tides.
That's the next one.
Yeah, you can click the next one.
There's another one down.
Yep. And so as you can see, these logs get moved very easily, some of them in excess to 1,000 pounds. You can click the next one. And this is the most famous one. Most of these videos are from this year. And these are the unsuspecting onlookers that we speak of. Luckily, she made it out and was able to walk back up to the up the ramp. We go next. Sorry. Other lifeguard lifeguard equipment. Lifeguard equipment includes rescue tubes, boards, fins, two-way radios, BLS medical kits, and AEDs. They're all essential for rescues and emergency care and communication. It's mandatory all lifeguards use wetsuits. due to the consistently cold water in the Pacific Northwest. To protect the guards from hypothermia and ensure they remain effective during extended water rescues. This season, to align with the USLA standards, we adopted new uniforms to a standardized color to improve lifeguard visibility and identification. As are here today joining us. And one of them is our model that's here. So additionally, we've added 3 new hybrid soft top rescue boards that replace outdated fiberglass ones. These boards are more durable, require less maintenance, and offer the same buoyancy, making them a practical upgrade to our equipment cache. They are shorter and they're shorter than the older boards that they replace, which makes them ideal for the size of our surf and distance between, which makes it easier and safer for the lifeguards to navigate through. Apparatus are among the most critical piece of our equipment in the lifeguard program, serving as the backbone of our new patrol model. As part of the continued investment into the program, Cannon Beach Fire District replaced the Jeep Cherokee with the Chevy Colorado, joining the Toyota Tundra as a primary patrol vehicle. Our fleet also includes 2 ATVs, a side-by-side, which are used for rapid response and active beach patrol. All ATV operators have successfully completed the state mandated ATV safety operations course. To ensure reliability and longevity of all equipment, the Cannon Beach Fire District maintains a comprehensive maintenance program over these vehicles. These are the same standards have been adapted by the fire district and the ocean safety apparatus, with year-round maintenance schedule now in place for all lifeguards and equipment and vehicles. Moving forward, we continually seek new ways to strengthen and evolve our ocean safety program. One of our primary goals for the upcoming, or some of the primary goals for our upcoming year, increasing staffing. So we hope to increase staffing with additional personnel. We can consistently maintain a minimum of 5 guards on the beach each day. We're actively exploring new ways to expand the hours to better align with the peak business season or the peak times during the beach day, and the changing seasonal patterns with weather. Currently, we're in the process of streamlining and enhancing our training curriculum to improve efficiency and better prepare new recruits for unique challenges of ocean lifeguarding. This season, we were proud to have 5 EMTs on staff. Our goal moving forward is to either increase the number of EMT certified lifeguards or ensure all staff.
Sliders.
You didn't have it on there, but what you got with the short version of what you had.
I did. So our fire district covers 10.86 miles from Chapman Point down to Falcon Cove, over to Oswald. Then we kind of share that with Nehalem. The lifeguard coverage area is from Silver Point to Chapman Point, which is kind of the Cannon Beach proper. We do mutual aid. The fire district surf team does mutual aid over to Seaside and Nehalem if we were asked. No questions?
I have a question about the towers.
Yes.
Your plans to buy both of them at the same.
Yeah, so the way that the model works, we're gonna need the 2 towers at the same time. It's, if you have seen the type of tower that we're ordering, it's drastically shorter than the current tower that we have. For 2 reasons. One, when the fog rolls in, that fog layer kind of stays pretty high most of the time. And with the tower so high, we can't see down the beach. So having them a little lower and then at the 2 locations will provide better coverage. And then we still have the vehicles as patrol in between, which Haystack Rock is essentially one of the most dangerous zones in our area because of the way the ocean currents move along that area. So we'll still have active patrols there and then patrols to the north and south as necessary.
And would you store them in the same place?
Yes, essentially, yes. We would store them in the same place by the old school. And then they're a little lighter, so we move them a little further up to just kind of stay out of the conditions because during king tide they can still reach that area.
Do they pull down in any way smaller, or are they just?
They'll stay their footprint essentially stays the same. There's flaps that cover the windows and the doors, for security reasons, but also to keep the glass, clean. And then we can open them up during the day, and then there'll be doors for to be essentially a little hut that the lifeguards will be in, which again will keep them protected from all the elements. Through the winter season, we could put some sort of cover on them just to keep them better.
Any other questions?
That's just,
Yeah.
as Joe was saying, you know, there are 166,000. They're a year out, so we're trying to get the money dedicated. That's why we started GoFundMe, we've raised around 90,000 now of that. But we've got to get basically the rest of the money, for whatever sources committed, so we can order them. We need that PO. But do the PO, we gotta be able to say we have the money.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for a successful season and.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for everything. Oh, yeah, we're gonna take a 1-minute break. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Cannon Beach Chamber of Commerce quarterly report.
Yeah, this is, first of all, thank you for having us. It seems like not that long since we were here last, but it's actually been about 3 months.
We're gonna introduce.
I would,
Okay.
I just want to thank you.
Sure, John? Yeah.
We do have a few different things to present. First of all, this is Jordan.
Hello,
Hi, Drew.
I was gonna, you better pronounce your last name.
my last name is Bohl, it's Bohel, the H throws everybody off.
Full.
Yes. I'm the new events and marketing manager here for the Chamber of Commerce for Cannon Beach. I've been here for just about 2 months, actually, 2 months yesterday. 2 months yesterday, and really enjoying it. Originally, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I went to school in. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I went to college in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I have a degree in digital media. Previously, I have worked for about 10 years for a nonprofit organization in Kentucky as their vendor and exhibitor coordinator. And for 2 years, I also served as their vice president on their board. I also have done work previously in marketing, digital design work, and before this, I was a technical artist for a company out of Wisconsin.
How did you land here?
So a little bit, 2 reasons. One, I enjoy doing events and it seemed like a really good job to apply to. And 2, I have been in a long-term relationship with my partner for about 3 years now. And he is a librarian in Tillamook, and we decided that we wanted to move in together. And now we live in a place in Nahalem. Great, good.
It's a librarian.
He's a librarian, yes.
Yeah, librarians make good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
As you can probably attest to, hiring somebody, the lodging or place to live has been one of the most difficult parts. So it was a really nice fit for us.
I got built-in lodging.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. I've enjoyed Cannon Beach so far. It seems like a really nice place.
So we've been asked to keep it short after this meeting. I think everyone will appreciate it keeping it short.
I'll second that.
So in your packet, there's a lot of financial information, which we'll get to at the end of the presentation. But I really want to touch on the year-end summary, more so than the quarterly report, because that's incorporated in that. But first of all, I'm gonna let Jordan do her first presentation of some of our DMO work and kind of looking towards the future.
Sure. So there should be the information in your printout. It's a slideshow. It has DMO presentation listed on it, or if we could bring it up, I think we have the file. It should say DMO 2024 to 2025 annual report. Look at all that paper.
In our presentation.
Ah, there you go.
25 to 26.
So this is gonna be our year in review and looking forward. So when we were in 2025, we did an ad campaign through a company called Davfi. If you're not familiar with Davfi, it is a company that essentially accumulates what we call big data. And that is the terms and agreements when you agree to your phone. They kind of know where you're at. When you check into places, your geolocation will ping and it will say, well, you're from North Dakota, you're in Cannon Beach. And these are all kind of like large data things that we kind of put out there when we sign up with things like social media. Generally speaking, you're only really pinging that large data cloud if you check in on an app or a program on your phone that you've allowed to have that information. Previously, I actually used to instruct people on how to circumvent this type of data tracking. But generally speaking, so if I go to Haystack Rock and I look at Facebook on my phone, Facebook can tell that I'm at Haystack Rock, especially if I tag it or my location is on my cell phone. And then they kind of just have that information, and Davfi is the company that brokers information with that. And that is how we determine where these numbers come from. They are what I would like to call a conservative estimate. There are a lot of things that go into place with it. For instance, we might see lower numbers in Midtown because we get no signal in Midtown. But that is generally speaking where we're going to be getting those numbers from. And we had an ad campaign through Datify, which cost $30,000 overall. And from that campaign, which we used to essentially advertise Cannon Beach for our off-season to people through banner ads or high header ads, and those are gonna be when you see a news article, the little ads on the sides, left or right. And for that, we did see an average return of investment of over $300 per $1 spent for the $30,000 campaign. And where we get that average of $300 per $1 spent, we will go into as we continue through our slideshow. So we ran this campaign from November of 2024 to August of 2025. And over that time, we determined through tracking those link clicks, so if someone clicks on that link, that data gets tracked, that that person traveled from an ad they clicked to our website. And then from that website, if they click on Mo's website link through our webpage, it tracks that information as well. So a viewer was 2.4 times more likely to come and visit Cannon Beach than a person who was not viewed one of our advertisement spaces. This campaign has brought an estimated $9.2 million impact to Cannon Beach. $5.8 million of this are estimated to be direct impact dollars. So direct impact dollars is when somebody comes to Cannon Beach. If I'm a tourist and I come to Cannon Beach and I pay $500 to stay at the Sandcastle Inn, that is direct impact dollars. The indirect impact dollars come from Sandcastle Inn needing to hire more staff because I brought all of my family and they all stayed in rooms, or to purchase more laundry detergent because they need to wash more sheets. That's when you see the compounding ripples of those immediate direct dollars. So 5.8 million of that was estimated to be a direct impact, with a ripple effect totaling $9.2 million.
And you're gonna get to, how you calculate ROI and conversions and.
Yes, we will get there. And these are kind of what we're seeing as a result of that impact. So we're showing you our results, and then we're gonna get kind of into that nitty gritty where we get that information from. We did estimate a $1.6 million hotel impact, equaling about 12,383 room nights that were attributed to this campaign. How they attribute these numbers is when somebody clicks on our ad, they go to our website and they can track that click to click to click area and see that they have booked a room. So on our next one, our online impressions. And this is partially where we're getting some of this information from. So when they click on our ads, we can see that they have been served our ads through their ISP, their internet service provider, and their data browsing history. So they come to us, and the average person from this ad campaign, when they click on that ad and then they come to our website, they average about 4 minutes on the website. That's above average for normal. Typically, somebody is on a website for about 30 seconds. Usually just long enough to check it out, then they close it, they go back to their phone. But what this shows us is that when people are clicking from the advertising campaigns that we have put out through Datify, that they're actually looking at our website in depth, probably making plans, checking out things to do, hotels, what's going on in the season. So that average time being higher is showing us that people are having a longer interest in our website and what is on it, the content that we are presenting. We have distinct clicks from our Datify campaign, which is about 3,879. And so those are going to be people who we know for a fact clicked on those links. That is actually a really good return over investment. Generally speaking, if you have an impression to about 10 million people, you can expect about 3,000 people maybe to click on your links. So what we're seeing here is a really good ratio of how many people we think have clicked on our links versus how many people saw the ad. And so from that, we can see that we have about 989,000 people that we estimate saw our ad. Generally speaking, you can't really expect more than about 1% of people to actually follow your links and to view your thing. And you can get even less people to comment or to actually follow through with a booking. So what we're seeing from this is this leads to us to about a $94 average 2 per $1 of return on investment over non-viewing markets, and these are markets that did not see our ads directly. So the person who saw our ads will be $94 ahead of a control group that was not shown our ads. So what Datify does is they give us a impression of a control group, which is a group of users that have not seen any of our ads, any of our presence online. And they compare that to a similarly sized group of people who were served our ads. And that is where we get that 2.4 times more likely to visit our site, where we're getting this comparison of about an average of 4 minutes on the website after clicking on those links. So what does that tell us from our year-to-date statistics? So this is now outside of our Datify advertising campaign. Datify does 2 things with us. They help with our advertising and online presence campaigns, and then they also provide us statistics about the people who are coming to Cannon Beach, where they are coming from, and where they are spending their money. These are also, once again, collected by opt-in data platforms. We can typically see where somebody is coming from by the average place that their cell phone is pinging from. For instance, in our report that I gave to the board this past month, there were 2 flights in our average flight council that came from Appleton, Wisconsin. And that was me, because my cell phone pings from Appleton, Wisconsin, which is where I was. So I skewed our flight data statistics by 2 whole flights. But that's where we get that from. And then other times we can see your financial average through things like your point of sale system or publicly available tax records. So we do get into the banking for some of this, where we can say the average person who comes to Cannon Beach makes XYZ dollars a year. And that's kind of where we get that information from point of sale systems and other opt-in information. So yearly visitorship. So this is going to be the part that we're all interested in, because we've been wanting to see growth for our off season, and we've kind of been wanting to temper down some of the presence that we've seen during our peak season. Yearly visitorship has actually grown overall plus 5% in 2024. The majority of that growth did take place in the shoulder seasons. 13% of that growth, shoulder season saw a 13% increase, and our peak season actually saw an 8% drop in visitorship from 2024 to 2025. What this tells us is that it's likely that all of our efforts as a DMO and a marketing group have been improving off-season and shoulder season visitation from a lot of our guests. We've been pushing king tides, whale watching, experiencing Cannon Beach in the fall, and what we're seeing is people kind of responding to those advertisements. And these numbers to the side are going to be kind of the estimated ones that we've seen. So in July, we have an estimated 1.13 million people coming here, so 1.13 million. And at our low season, we're looking at about 370,000 in February. So the typical person who comes to Cannon Beach, they're about 45 to 65 years old. They have an annual income of $150,000. 86% of them are Caucasian, and 60% of them are coupled, married, partnered, or come here with a plus one. And the other people who visit Cannon Beach, 51% of our visitors come from Portland. They are typically a day trip visitor, although we have actually seen an uptick in what we've estimated to be overnight trips from Portlanders. It hasn't gone up extensively, but the average person from Portland will spend 1.9 days here, that we've seen from our statistics, over an average of 1.5 from, I believe, 1 to 2 years ago. We have seen an uptick in visitors from Idaho. Typically, an Idaho visitor will spend on average 200% more dollars than an Oregon visitor. An average Oregon visitor spends about $200 to $250. Our average Idaho visitor spends about $500 per visit.
And that's everything that they spend.
We don't necessarily track exactly what they have spent it on, but we can average that if a person has a geolocation that comes from Idaho, and we average out that spending that we have marked for them, they are spending about $500 per visitor from Idaho versus about $200 per visitor from Oregon. Portland in particular is around $220.
day trippers from Portland versus overnight stays from.
Yeah, and you'll see that higher number because they are going to be staying the night, and
Yeah.
Portland people might come down here for the day. But we're also seeing that as an increase against people who are coming here from Spokane and Eugene. Typically our east side of the state or East Washington, they will spend more money because they will stay the night, but we are seeing a spike in particular from Idaho.
What about Seattle?
We do get a lot of visitorship from Seattle. Next to Portland, it is our highest, what I would say, day or day and a half trip visitors. I know that 51% of our visitors come from Portland, and I believe 43% of those visitors come from the Seattle area, the Seattle Tacoma. The next largest category of our visitors is actually people aged 24 to 25. They account for about 30% of our visitorship. We are seeing a shift where younger people are starting to make up more and more of the visitorship to Cannon Beach than in past years. It is up from, I believe, 22% from 2021. So we are definitely seeing an increase of that. We have our numbers for our visitor center. So our visitor center from 24 to 25, we saw about 1,380 numbers of magazines mailed. We have about 14,000 walk-in visitors. Most of those visitors were here for recommendations, instructions, and of course, tide charts. We do a lot, sorry, there's a fly in here, with the tide charts.
It's your turn.
Just
under 3,000 of our calls were related to lodging, room rentals, or other similar requests. So of the people calling the visitor center, we have a lot of phone calls that refer us to lodging, and we collect that. We call the lodging. We'll call people in the lodging community about once a week to kind of get what their numbers are throughout the week to see if we have any extra spaces. So going into the rest of this year and into 2026, we are going to be facing industry changes. I'm sure that none of you are new to the notion that the tourism industry has been struggling over the past year in the United States, particularly in larger industry places such as Las Vegas, Seattle, Washington, New York City. We are seeing a significant decrease in tourism. Next, please. There you go. So tourism as a whole is on a national decline. They projected tourism to rise by 7% last year. It has actually fallen by 8.2%. So we're looking at a difference of about 17% in regards to our tourism expectations. Canadian visitorship is down by 30 to 50% in similar markets such as Seattle, Spokane, and Washington. And on average is down 28% nationally. We are seeing a larger empty space that has been left by our Canadian visitorship. And that is something that I do believe is going to impact tourism in the upcoming months. Additional impact, there is a rising visa cost for people who are flying into the United States. There is a $250 visa integrity fee for many international visitors. And this is a 40% increase in European Union visitor costs to come here. There are several international travel advisories that are now placed against the United States from countries from the United Kingdom to New Zealand, Finland, Denmark, a lot of countries that are globally known as wealthy countries. We're not seeing as much visitorship for them as well. The collective rate of inflation has risen by about 3.1% collectively, and food and lodging has risen about 30% over 2019. Those are things that typically restrict visitors from coming. Cannon Beach is a little bit more expensive than some of our neighboring communities to stay in and to eat in. It's a very nice community, but we do have to understand that it is a little bit more expensive. And we are not immune to those rising costs. Experts believe that we are probably going to be entering into an economic recession within a couple of months, and that we may not see that impact until late next year. So next, please. However, we as the DMO and the marketing and events have been working on things to make sure that we keep our visitorship at very steady levels. Over the past year to 2 years, we've actually seen a really steady level of tourism in Cannon Beach, which is very good considering nationally we've seen a decrease. So we've actually seen a rise of 8%, and then nationally, we've seen a decrease of 8%. This year is the 250th anniversary of the United States. Happy birthday. So many people are actually planning cross-country trips, which is partially why I've been working to kind of increase our presence in magazines and places, things like Utah, Texas, Florida. We actually get a large percentage of visitors from Idaho as well, because this year is being really encouraged to do that cross-state travel, that cross-country travel. We will likely see an increase in our drive market from people from Portland and Spokane. Generally, during economic downturns, people turn to local destinations for visitorship. So while we may not see as much growth in our hotel stays, we will likely see a larger impact for our local restaurants and shops. This year also, this upcoming year is also the Route 66 Centennial, which connects to 101 in California. So having some connection with California to see if people, once they finish that Route 66 trail, go on up the 101, hit Astoria, hit Seaside, hit Cannon Beach. There's a lot of things to do with that. So that's gonna be something we can think about. Another thing that we might see more visitorship from is the FIFA World Cup in 2026. The largest sporting event essentially in the world for most countries. There is a game taking place in Seattle this year, which makes some visitorship coming down from. Next. So to capitalize on the 250th anniversary as well as the Route 66 Centennial, we are partnering currently with Go RVing. It is an initiative that promotes the use of RV travel, bus travel, just large groups essentially traveling across the United States and seeing the natural wonders that we have. I've spoken with a representative from Go RVing to get Cannon Beach on their official 250th anniversary map as a destination for the winter season, with a special highlight on king tides and whale watching in Ecola State Park. They were advised that we do not have very much parking for RVs within the immediate city, and that Ecola State Park is not necessarily RV friendly for driving. They have also reached out to us to ask us for the information for 4 of our largest hotels in the area for bus tours that they plan to have come to Cannon Beach in the 250th winter. We gave them the information for Tola Vana Inn and a couple of other larger capacity places around town. This partnership also, the best part is at 0 cost to us. Go RVing's main goal is to work with RV America to sell RVs. So they are working with us for free, essentially, to give people a reason to buy an RV. And so it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. I've also been working on partnering with Leave No Trace. If you haven't heard of it before, Leave No Trace is a nationally recognized stewardship and environmental conservation program. They typically work with communities to help us understand ways that we can lessen our impact on the environment. They also encourage the education of visitors, tourists, and locals about proper trail care and local trail maintenance, as well as just in general respecting the nature that we have around us. The idea is to leave no trace behind and leave something exactly as we found it. There are free ways to work with them, such as information that we can go through, initiatives that we can kind of keep in mind as we go forward with our future events and our marketing. And then they also offer paid ones where they essentially come here and they evaluate the city's ability for, not ability, excuse me, how well people who come to Cannon Beach follow the principles of Leave No Trace. I haven't really spoken with them with that yet. For some reason, the Google Doc forms, when I tried to get into a meeting with them, keeps putting me at 3 a.m. in Chicago time, even though I have it set to Pacific, but we're getting there. And that is the end of that presentation. If there is any questions, I'm very happy to help answer.
Are there any questions?
I know it's a lot of numbers.
I'm just curious, on your typical visitor, 150K plus annual income, I guess, I just don't understand how you got that statistic.
So where we get that statistic is when you sign up for things, you can sometimes include what your income is. If you apply for a credit card, you can put in what your income is. If you sign up for a coupon app on your phone, it can ask you what your income is. Some places, point of sale systems, they will report that and then they can kind of average out what they expect your average income to be. Really, it's really big data and it can kind of feel a little big brother at times.
Very creepy.
Yes, it is very creepy. I fully understand the trepidation about it because something I used to do was to help educate people on how to kind of hide their digital footprint. Not a lot of people are very good at hiding their digital footprint, and it has become increasingly more difficult to be able to hide your digital footprint. But essentially that's just where that data comes from. It's from opt-in service information from people who are in apps, from publicly available records, and from census information as well.
That's not.
I did.
What you're.
No, but not every place that people apply for credit cards is a secure place. Yes, it's quite dangerous, actually. You really need to be aware of your online presence. For myself, I personally don't have my location turned on my phone, generally speaking. And say if I go to Nicola State Park and I go to check in my phone, and I said, I'm here at Nicola State Park and I'm having a great time. If I don't check in, then it doesn't know that I'm there. But if I do check in, then that data goes up to the cloud, so to speak. Also, it can figure out, well, if your cell phone is spending 97% of your time in this neighborhood, in this area of Portland, then you probably have an estimated income of this much a month to be able to spend your time there. Essentially, it knows that your cell phone is in a location where the average income is $150,000. Yes, it is very uncomfortable. I wish that I had the language to make it more comfortable, but I don't, because I don't think that language exists.
Language wouldn't help.
No, I'm not. We need a Faraday cage.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah.
So this, leave no trace, I thought, at least from previous presentations, that there was already an effort underway for better stewardship and education for stewardship, and I was surprised to find out that leave no trace there, it hadn't been done already. You know, that, so what other stewardship platforms or, you know, campaigns is the chamber involved in?
Sure, I know that there was a previous started initiative that was called Love It Like a Local. And I know that the crux of that campaign was to kind of encourage visitors to treat Cannon Beach as though they lived here and to keep that very nice. Leave No Trace is an initiative that I'm wanting to get involved with coming in as a new person for kind of two reasons. One, Leave No Trace is nationally known, and it's kind of like having that ADT security sign in your yard. Just being associated with Leave No Trace does improve the sustainability and the stewardship of people coming to the area. I can't really speak as to why people in my position in the past haven't really connected with them, but I know that it's something that I want to connect with going forward. And we also know that Tillamook County is partnered with Leave No Trace as well, and they've had a lot of good results from that, to my understanding. But yeah, that's basically the reason. I know we've done campaigns in the past, and I don't know why they haven't done Leave No Trace previously. Maybe they didn't know about it. Maybe it just wasn't something that they had the time to get to, but it is something that I want to do as the new events and marketing person.
So it's a direct response to your questions about that, and we want to step it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and that, I mean, that's what was presented to us as a goal.
So we've always been,
Several years ago.
it's always been our goal to do that. This is just the next step.
It's an increase in what in our current efforts. So we still have the campaign of Love It Like a Local and, you know, treat Haystack Rock like your home. We share a lot of things online with the Haystack awareness program to make sure that people are interacting with the main attraction of Cannon Beach in a sustainable and healthy way. This is just us kind of adding another layer to the cake, so to speak.
add one comment.
Yeah.
Love It Like a Local wasn't necessarily all about, trying to turn people into conservationists, but it was targeting conservationists.
Right.
Target people who already had that mindset.
Mhm. Nice.
Okay,
Okay,
now for the fun stuff.
yeah.
So in the packet, there was several different documents. There's fourth quarter reports and fourth quarter detailed reports. There was a summary of the fourth quarter. I'm not really gonna dive into that because I think it's incorporated within the year-end report. So I'm choosing to focus on the year-end report for the last fiscal year. And again, I have Amber online and we need her explanation for those because there's a few numbers that I think might need that. First of all, let me give you a quick summary. Our fourth quarter marketing efforts, we did really well in bringing that in line and making sure we stayed within our plan for that. If you looked at that part of the budget is a little bit over. And if you recall back to the beginning of the year, there was the 18,000 carryover from the year before that was in the other category, which was for clarity of place work. And so that's why that budget is over. We also did have some other, when we were switching accountants, there was additional costs there. So a lot of these categories that we're talking about had issues that were pointed out in previous reports that we've worked on, corrected, brought back in line to get back in place. We've been very efficient with our staffing this year because we knew the budget was, had its concerns. And so we've been monitoring all of those expenses, working very hard to bring that back in line and getting it back to where our budget, we're back in line with our fiscal responsibility. We did have some turnover in staffing, so that helped keep the payroll costs down, but we're staffing that back up to the commission meeting. The general administrative expenses were slightly higher. A good portion of that is the raising cost of insurance. Insurance kind of exploded this past year and we're not immune to that. We're getting hit from all different angles on that insurance for our organization as well. We did have some professional fees and staff, dues and things that we were doing that were a little higher than normal. We're working to bring those back into line. The good news, giving all of these factors, is, we knew the overall budget, the DMO contract income would come in higher than the 503 that was chosen as our budget amount. We did also plan for the 124,000 from the reserves to cover what we were projecting as a shortfall in that. But, and we did move that funding as we had planned because we felt it was better to be transparent about this movement rather than make adjustments as we went, which would probably add more confusion to that. So our income was much higher than we budgeted for. If you look at the expenses, and I'm looking at the summary attachment D, if you're wanting to follow along. We spent just slightly over what we had planned in the marketing. And again, I explained that a portion of that was the carry forward from the previous year. Payroll was down across the board from our budget. And then the administration was slightly up, so our expenses were down overall by well, 97% of our planned expenses is what we ended up with. That results in net ordinary income for both the visitor center and the DMO of $78,429.62 to be on the nose. And that money will go back to the reserve, so at the end of the year, that's gonna go into the reserve, so that will recoup that. So of the $124,000 we had planned to use from reserves, we used less than $50,000 to cover our expenses. Is there any questions about that as a summary of the overall?
Nothing. I just have one general question. Did Tim Collier review and approve your financial presentation?
No.
Okay.
He worked with us to reorganize it and he suggested this format to help with that, but he didn't dive in and review it. Amber, our accountant, brought this with his recommendation.
Okay, because I thought that was what we had decided, maybe we didn't, I think I just misremembered a previous meeting that, so it would comply with general accounting practices and.
Yes, we had a meeting with him, we reviewed the general accounting, we went over this with our accountant and him, and I gladly stepped back and let them talk. They know what they're talking. He made several suggestions, which is the summary. Financial report was one of the things I believe he suggested, to just break it down to the top level so that it was very straightforward. We had the visitor center stats, the DMO work, and then the total compared to our budget, which is what you see on the summary page.
So you incorporated all of his suggestions.
My knowledge, yeah. And Amber worked really hard to get that ready. But of course,
Well, we made a bunch of recommendations and they're not here, so.
Right, that's kind of what I was getting at, that, I'm not seeing them. So I didn't know it had been reviewed by Tim or not.
first with the summary, we want to make sure you have the backup details, so you can see that the details that follow, that flow into it. So if you wanted to deep dive into that, you certainly have the ability to do so. This is the detailed report is not so different than what we presented last time. So I guess if there's things missing that you want to see, we would certainly want to incorporate those. But as I recall, the last meeting we met, we were gonna meet with Tim and he was gonna give us recommendations, and that's what we put into this. So I feel like we've worked hard to address those, and it's as much I think much easier to understand. Are there any other questions or?
So I would like to see, first of all, you don't need anything past your full number. Don't need all these points and zeros. These are just nitpicky little things. But with Bruce's, approval, maybe Tim could absolutely review this next time and maybe be here to help present.
Yeah, that would be a good.
Yeah.
And we certainly wouldn't. That would be welcome, but we're not going to request that of the city. We have our accountant, but I didn't realize that that was part of the discussion. To have Tim review the financials, but if you guys are willing to dedicate his time to that.
I think that there are questions within the financials that it's not that it's being accounted for wrong, it's not being explained properly. Am I wrong?
Well,
We do
I
have,
feel like it's probably
I think that's,
the situation, and that
Yeah.
Tim has been a really thorough explainer
Yes.
for,
Yeah.
for other stuff that we've had.
Yeah.
I know he offered at the last quarterly meeting, I don't know if he was offering in a personal capacity or in his official capacity is.
I asked Bruce and he said that I just asked him and he said that we could borrow 10. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I.
I
Totally borrowed it because well, Mayor and I sat with him and we talked about a whole bunch of reporting that would help give us a better picture of things. I know, it's just like, everything moves at a glacial pace.
Yeah.
And those suggestions that you made, you don't see incorporated.
No, I mean, we, you know.
What suggestions were those for my reference, just curious? What suggestions were those for my reference, just curious?
There were specific financial reporting ones and, some suggestions about the whole, report as well. In fact, I mean, some of it would be, you know, previous years, so we can look at expenses from previous years rather than just looking at the current year. But, I mean, I don't want to try to recreate all those recommendations and.
No, I know,
But
I understand completely, it's more just for me to get a better price.
also on the, whole reporting side, we're really kind of looking for an executive summary, of a lot of this stuff and, the thing is, you send it, it becomes part of the packet, we study it all, and then you read it all to us.
so we've been here for over an hour just with your
Oh,
presentation.
yes.
So, I mean, it's not only you, it happens with other people, but, we actually do all the homework and read through all this stuff, so we don't necessarily need, we don't need it all, you know, the whole presentation repeated to us. So I don't know, I think some of the recommendation had some ways of, just making it a more effective way for us to digest it.
Sure, right.
So I think we just need to revisit it.
Right.
I mean, they're in writing.
Yeah.
We need to look at it.
Yeah, have a record of them. Yeah.
And sit with Tim and have him sit with you, I don't know.
Yeah, which we would be more than willing to do.
Yes.
Sure.
And then to make sure
in-
that, or,
I'm sorry, I was going to ask, in regards to my presentation, I know that there are certain things that we kind of have a contract with the city to include in our presentation material. If that is material that is given to you in more of a packet form, how would you like me to address that when I'm kind of speaking about it or presenting that? Sure.
A summary is generally good and then you can ask questions. So, I mean, that's how I feel. We've got the information.
Sure.
That's why we get it in advance.
Yeah, I really wanted to clarify, this was kind of the summary of the larger Datify campaign and larger information. So if you wanted a summary of the summary, that's something I can.
No, not necessarily. Again, I think we just need to go back and look at the recommendations. They were, us trying to like recreate them after we've been sitting here for 5 hours is.
That's totally fine. We'll go back and look at that. You know, if you guys want to send us your recommendations, we can certainly incorporate those. I would love to have your input.
I think the biggest thing is just, if you've given us the information, we can ask questions about it and we don't necessarily need it re-presented to us.
Yeah, a lot of this is reporting that's required as part of the contract, so we want to make sure that we're fulfilling the contract needs as well, so. Yeah, we'll certainly summarize it.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we are making progress. We know. Yeah.
Every time we make more improvements, that's why I was happy to see this, because this was the summary was really the summary. I thought that was a really great step that you mentioned.
So anything else? Did you get?
Feel like things are going well?
Well, we're getting the marketing team together and, you know, this year will be the end of the 2-year plan, so we're gonna get that right up and start working on the next 2 years for the future and, really having Jordan here, getting together with the marketing team. She's done a tremendous job, as you can see, diving in and getting me up to speed as quickly as she can. So it's really just a matter of getting together with the community and working on implementing the steps that need to happen this year and planning for the future.
I think for our business community, for everyone. But the people who do belong to the chamber, are in for a little bit of a rough ride over the next couple of years. I think that tourism is going to continue to shrink. As people choose to spend their money on, I don't know, groceries. So I think it's gonna be an interesting ride.
Saw a report with the Oregon Economic. Probably not getting this title right, but he was the forecaster for the state of Oregon. But the next 2 years are definitely gonna be a slow down at best. That was, yeah.
Yeah, we are expecting a rising cost for business owners and a decreased revenue stream coming into the next few years, which is going to kind of be a struggle for a lot of us. We've been riding that tide out so far. We've seen incremental growth over seasons and a very steady year over year, the variance of maybe 1 to 3% year over year. So we are still doing well as far as Cannon Beach is concerned, but I don't think that it's wise to sit comfortably in that buoyant area. I think it would be wise to anticipate, to prepare for the worst and hope for the best in regards to that, so.
Yeah, I'm not particularly pessimistic about it because, I mean, we are a dry destination.
Right.
And we're, you know, so we benefit there and, so I think we're insulated more than most. Not that it doesn't mean prices are going up and visitation is going down, but it's one of the reasons I've been concerned about, how much money of the reserves has been spent in the last 2 years. I mean, I would think the idea would be to not spend more money than you're receiving, so that in a challenging year, there's actually money to spend,
Well,
if we need to.
we took substantial effort to bring that back in line this year because of the conversations we've had here. And I think the accounting shows that.
The accounting shows that you spent, $612,000. Out of 566,000 in income. So that's what I'm.
And this year's budget is more balanced and we're not diving into the reserves.
I'm sorry.
This year's budget is balanced and not dipping into the reserves unless there's a significant reason to do so. So in 2 years, I believe with Amber's help, we're correcting that concern. I believe that's pretty good effort on our part.
Okay, anything else? Thank you and
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
What a great one.
Oh, I've been worse.
Jen, for the record, I ate a power bar because I was hungry. So I apologize if I offended anyone. Nobody even noticed.
That you didn't share.
Yay. Yeah, sorry. Down the road. Thank you. What?
Okay.
Lisa?
Okay, now. That's the agenda item, please.
Oh, aren't we done?
No. We'll be two more. Okay, Bruce.
Yes, please.
Yeah, well,
I can take care of the, give you the Reader's Digest version on the SEIU. One of the shortcomings we have in our certifications is welding. We had a welder, he's retiring, tried to replace somebody. And we found that they had a welding background, we didn't have the ability to compensate for that. And so we've asked, we worked with the union, and we developed a memorandum of understanding that would, there would be an agreement that we would be having welding as a certification.
So that was the only change here, right? Just that around, the addition of item F on there for the certification. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certification incentives.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Where you pay people for their skills.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we will have an MOU at the November meeting.
Yes.
Okay, great. Moving right along. Great. Moving right along. Transportation system plan discussion, Bruce.
Do you remember what a great job I did on the last one?
Yeah.
You got all that here? I didn't remember.
We have high standards.
All that time was gone. March 2025, going after low hanging fruit, the TSP, the city submitted a transportation and growth management program. Grant pre-application to fund three-way stop patrol at South Hemlock and Sunset Boulevard. City was informed that this project will not likely be funded because the TGN grant is trying to get transportation planning work completed similar to when the city completed and adopted Cannon Beach TSP. July 2nd, coffee with councilors, discussion was held regarding concerns with traffic and parking on the S-curve area. The discussion expanded to speed limits, parking fines, ways to slow people down, etc. throughout the town. Then August 25, city staff received a proposal and a quote of $11,000 to perform a traffic study along the S-curves, as well as the intersection of Sunset and Hemlock in order to assist and coordinate considerations for future decision making. My only caveat I would put on this is that we be careful about trying to do transportation engineering, because there's a lot of unintended consequences when you start messing with, stopping traffic here, moving traffic here, whatever, and to allow it to go through to the professionals to make sure that we don't make a mistake. So anyway, that's my presentation.
I don't think we're in any shape to move this forward tonight. But I think that as a council, we need to probably at the retreat set some priority.
I have that in my notes for good and order, but, I think master plans in general, we should have a larger discussion of all of them.
Right. Okay.
After retreat.
Great idea. That's very specifically the transportation.
Yeah, I think so. I think we did receive a public comment from Randy about, bikes and the S-curves.
Yeah.
There was some targeted information that I think, would be nice to be able to reach out to them. Him or have him reach out with his whole group, whatever that is with the group concerned. The bike coalition, I guess we could call them.
Yeah. And there's none of us.
There was some good information.
Yeah, there was, but none of us are involved
Yeah, no, I'm not, I just got the.
Yeah,
I don't know, I just got with you guys.
Yeah.
It can be. I said one of us should be involved along this.
I just wanted.
Initially, I asked, cause I read like,
Yeah.
but no, around, I asked Randy and then he just like, is excluded me the whole time. Okay, fine, that's fine. No, do your thing.
No, yeah, that's
I'm
exactly
happy
why
to see it.
that's exactly why we need to opinion from the attorney.
Right.
On how to go about that.
Right, so we will put all of those things on. Free trade agenda. You would like that?
And Dr. Penn.
Okay. So let's go on to good of the order. I'd just like to remind people that, we sent an email on some town hall meetings that are coming up, with Representative Representative Jay, and then, we have another trail meeting this Saturday from 10 till noon. That really was fun, and we're gonna go across the street and we're on the Nacruz area also. Anybody have anything else?
A couple things, three things is that just for if anyone's listening or interested. I know that the city is going to meet with Bruce and generally the city attorney coming up, right, about the groups like the tree group or the housing group or the dark sky group.
Yes.
To discuss with the city attorney how we can get some kind of education on how to move forward.
Right.
With those groups or without those groups or whatever is required. But right now, there's really, about 20 different opinions on how it's supposed to go forward. Right. And so we need a legal opinion.
Right.
Yeah. So we're.
And we'll get that.
Yeah.
We can get a memo or something. Sure.
I thought you asked for us to actually have a conversation, all of us, with
That's
these.
what I'm bringing up originally. That's open to the public, so people in the community can also understand how it works. There's not accusations flying back and forth that might or might not be well founded. That's what I wanna know. You know, we still at this point are unclear.
Yeah, I think, I liked what you said last week about all of us being able to hear
Yeah, I
what
think that's
the attorney had to say.
Right, I think that's
The council
important.
can copy.
Well,
I
Back and forth.
I don't.
Yeah, I almost think it needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and it has to involve the city attorney.
Yeah.
It can't just be,
And it probably should be both of them, Ashley and Jody.
When's Ashley's last?
End of the year, right?
Oh, okay, I couldn't remember.
because we can talk about it amongst ourselves till the cows come home.
Right, but-
And have 5 different opinions.
Right, and if they're not, then we waste time.
Right.
And it may be a fist fight.
Yeah, okay, so hopefully we'll get it.
Yeah, so that, we're having a meeting on, I think it's Thursday, and that's when this topics are going to be discussed.
Okay, well,
And then we'll be able
or session or at the end of the council meeting or something, or at the beginning of one, something so that the public can hear as well, so they understand how it works.
Yeah,
So
The other thing is I just want to say that my son is reading at the library this coming Saturday. He published a book with Penguin Random House that is a mystery book and a thriller. And they're having him here too.
What time?
Well, I think it's at 1:30. The problem is that there's no King's March is that same day. So there was an effort to move it farther out, but I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, it's, well, I shouldn't talk about the book because my son's obviously,
Yeah, just thank you.
I'm gonna say it's a great book, but it is.
I heard from other people.
And yeah, he sold the rights to a large, production company and might be making a series of it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.